the story of June 12 has not been fully told. They told Abiola, you have to go and negotiate with Abacha. You have to go and meet him. And so that they will not accuse him of not listening to his supporters. He planned to leave. So that night, he drained dogs and cats. So they couldn't make it. They now postponed the meeting to the following day. So that was the picture you will see Tinubu behind Abiola. In every struggle, those who have not lifted a finger would always discredit those who have lost almost everything. Babangida is a very cosmopolitan man. If you are arrested, you can still negotiate with him. But with Abacha, there was no negotiation. Because Abacha had promised to reinstall Abiola. Yes. That was the promise before he did the coup, that he will come, take over and clean out the Babangida guys. He was promoting and projecting himself as a pro-democracy soldier. That was how Abiola lost his guard. He believed him. Abiola, then he said, Dele, have you heard? I said, heard what, sir? Baba is leaving us. Money, which Baba? Baba Gana Kingibe. I said, vice presidential candidate. I said, Chief, don't listen to rumor mongers. I said, it's not possible. I said, it's gone. Yes, one by one, they were just stripping the man naked. Let me start by telling you that I was very close to Wike.
You are no longer close?
No, I'm one person. If you like, give me $1 billion. If you don't respect me, I'll walk away. Yes, trouble started the moment I declared interest in presidential election. Wike that told me that he used to watch myself and his boss, Amechi, when we are flying helicopters on top, that he would be down, they would look at us and say, hey, see these people, they are enjoying, that kind of thing. So suddenly, because you've now made money, power,
The Honest Bunch podcast is brought to you by Reseda, Lenfi, Seymour Global, Declan Wine.
Welcome to the Honest Bunch podcast. Thank you so much for your support. We dey see the love. We appreciate una. God go bless una. Ladies and gentlemen, we no go waste plenty time. We'll give una the updates when we say we dey always give una. Una know say we dey plan to go UK. Yeah. Yes, we're planning to go to the United Kingdom, the Honest Bunch UK tour. Remember, it's over the Easter holidays, 17th, 19th and 20th, Coventry, London, Manchester. We tell God, beg una, muna buy tickets. I beg, muna come out in una numbers and una go enjoy waiting with the curate for una. Now, make I tell una, somebody will be say, or one brand when I always they mention, I go mention Reseda. We don't talk and say they good make you invest in real estate, but as you they invest in the one where we say no go cause serious problems for you. And Reseda na people where we say then look us tell us say we have good plans for Nigerians. We want to collaborate with the Honest Bunch. And they say when you slide enter their DM, tell them say now from Honest Bunch, they go look say this guy na correct guy, and they go give you the very best deals. Then there's also Seymour. Seymour na company where we say everything we concern interior decoration. After God don't bless you, don't build your house. You want make your house become home where you go feel live and you go they're very comfortable. Seymour, their head office there for Port Harcourt, but anywhere across the world, then go deliver, then go come and transform your house into a home.
And we also have Lenfi. Wherever you are in the world, UK, US, any parts of the world you want to send money and it's stressing you, Lenfi has got you.
Yes.
No stress about it.
Yes. And then we will not just be talking and our throat will be dry. So I will just
Acapella if you grab that.
Exactly. Declan wine. So that when I go no say we dey here, we get the non-alcoholic, we get the alcoholic. So no excuse, you must drink. Just enjoy yourself. Even if you dey fast, once you break fast, just take the non-alcoholic one. Yes. Use and take step down.
Woo!
Woo! Woo! Thank you, Lord. The Lord that creates good things.
Gotta give it to the lady beside you.
Lady beside me. As I dey give the lady beside me, make I do introduction more. I know. Ladies and gentlemen, the amazing quartet with a unique touch. I'm going to begin by my immediate right. A seasoned broadcast journalist. This one a journalist will be say, as then cook am, she done well. Her voice for radio, they give plenty people joy. Imagine say person they listen to radio and the person they do, now she they cause her. Because as she they give the information with that voice when they're very angelic, they sound like nightingale. It's in the sweet belly. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and the only BB Ray.
It's good to be back. I missed you.
You're welcome, BB Ray. Ladies and gentlemen, one beautiful Nigerian woman, two beautiful Nigerian women. Imagine say you get one Nigerian woman wey head correct for one space. You can't get two. You go no say the thing don't balance. We call her the Gen Z body. Ọmọ tó gbọ́rọ̀ sí màmá rẹ̀ létí. As then teach her, she gets the training and then train her well. At this point, she's currently fasting, and we pray that as she prays, the Almighty Allah will answer her prayers.
Amen.
The beautiful, delectable, drop dead gorgeous Deity Cole.
Salam alaikum.
Salam alaikum for this season. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. A comedian with a difference. Stand-up comedian when sabi the work well. He has mastered the craft and perfected the art. Give a microphone, you go know say laughter na indeed very good medicine. Nearly 3 decades of experience. And for this industry, he don't forge a path where we say even those where we they look up to, then they respect them because na brand when stand out. The one and the only Onyoma Dollar Remix. Agape! Comedian Acapella! Yes, and yours truly Ezuku Chukudi aka husband material.
Okay.
God resists the proud. So just leave it.
We'll leave it.
He will elevate your humble. So ladies and gentlemen, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest na person where we say, you know they waka anyhow. Now August visitor, anytime when he visit you, now the month of August, yes, because now August visitor, you know they waka anyhow. He's someone who has knowledge of Nigerian history. He has lived it. He has also everything when they do, they practicalized. And this episode would serve as a historic reference that we believe that many young people today would watch and they would refer to in so many years to come. If you check the history of this our country, and people will be say, don't make sacrifice, people when don't sweat, people when don't suffer to put this country first, in follow. This one not be say in the talk am, not be to profess am or confess am, in don't live am. And when we discuss today, you go learn. A person when believe in education, but you go good, may you empower yourself. And the route will be saying follow, na route will be say normally you go look and say how this thing take happen, but now because of saying stand out, in they unique. Now journalist par excellence. Now find broadcaster for that industry, don't make him mark. This na person when wear the jersey of one big political party for this country. This thing when I tell you now over 10 years ago to talk say in one move this country go the permanent site. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like for you to welcome Ayobami Dele, Abayomi, Oju Telegon, Ajani Momodu, Chief Dele Momodu. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
for
Thank
that
you.
Powerful introduction.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It is such great honor to have you. And I believe that this episode, for everyone who follows through would learn, very important life lessons. And that is what essentially Honest Bunch Podcast is about. We appreciate guests like you who have goodwill, who also enjoy that goodwill, and who are willing to come and share their life experience. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So before we proceed, there's something I would also like to say. Now, there are so many politicians in Nigeria, whether career politicians or part-time politicians, and only a few you would look at and not think about where they are from. I understand that a lot of politicians want to score cheap political points, and so they do certain things. There was a video I saw of the late, Moshood Kashima Wolawale Abiola, where he was dancing with the Esama of Benin. It was during the launch of, I think, Okada Air. And the caption that accompanied that video was essentially about a man who would knock on any door and people would open. I dare say that you are one of such, Nigerian that has friends across, Nigeria and around the world. You are somebody who nobody thinks about whether this person comes from the south, this person comes from the north, this person comes from the east or the west. When they think about you, they think about a Nigerian who is detribalized and who wants to do everything in service to our great country, Nigeria. So thank you so much. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So let's delve straight into the conversation. We are going to begin first from your upbringing, because I understand that people are going to learn a lot from that. Now, you lost your father at a very young age, and it was mommy that gave her all to raise you. I would like for you to just detail that experience so that people would see the strength and character of a Nigerian woman in the face of difficulty.
Well, it's a long story, but I'll try.
No, you can tell it as long as it is. We have all the time in the world.
No, I do not want to bore you with the story of my life, which for me is a potpourri of sadness and joy. I was born in 1960, May 16 to be precise. I'll be 65 by the grace of God this year. I was born in the ancient town of Ile-Ife to humble parents. And I grew up in Ife, had all my education from primary to secondary to university to my master's degree. I don't know how it so happened that Ife was my foundation. But I believe there is something very unique and special about Ife because it produced quite a number of fantastic writers. Dele was born in Ile-Ife.
Wow.
We grew up in the same compound, number 2 Atiba Square, Ile-Ife, opposite the Honest Palace. Ile-Ife also produced Dele Agekame of Newswatch, later Tell magazine of blessed memory now. He was my schoolmate at St. John's Grammar School, Ile-Ife. It also produced the Mudakeke friend of mine and the only Pulitzer winner I know from Nigeria, Dele Olojede. We grew up together. And there were others like that who were writers. And so maybe there's something in Ife water that prepared us. But in my own case, I like to describe myself as a child of destiny and a child of diversity. I was born in an Ladura church. My mom was a prayer warrior. I grew up with prayers all around me. I was in the choir in the church. I was a drummer boy. And my father worked with the public works department, what we used to call Pong Pong Wahala Dede. It was a road overseer. They were the ones who repaired the roads in those days. And I started school at the age of 6, which was a bit early in those days too. In fact, only one headmaster agreed to admit me. All the others said I was too young because in those days, the way you knew if a child was due for school was to use your hand over your head and it must touch
your ears.
Your ears. That's a sign of maturity. And that didn't happen. So, but a man called Chief Isaac Olagbaju, he owned a major bookshop in Ile-Ife, Olushanu bookshop, later Omarewa bookshop. He agreed and he used to give me a ride on his Lambretta. I'm not sure if the Gen Zs will know the motorbike called Lambretta. Lambretta. It was like Vespa. I don't know if you know the Vespa.
Of course, I know Vespa.
Yeah, so it was like a look-alike of Vespa. So, and he was the first person also to teach me about drinking Bonvita in those days, which these agencies call hot chocolate. Every, in those days we used to call it Bonvita. That was before Milo came into existence. And the aroma of hot chocolate in the class sometimes would be so intense that you forget about your studies.
Wow.
So I grew up in that environment. Then my first school was so local that local was attached to the name. Local Authority Primary School. Ifewara Road, Ile-Ife. And opposite my school, we had a shrine. Yes, and I used to, say, hey, how could anybody have learned in that environment with spirits, with go-beats? It was like being in a forest of 1,000 demons. I mean, if I could borrow from the title of D.O. Fagunwa's novel, Ogbuju Ode Ninu Igborunmole, which Wode Soyinka later translated as the forest of 1,000 demons. So that was my background. My background was quite cultural because Ife was a place of culture, the cradle of civilization. And in fact, the belief, I wouldn't want to use the word superstition, was that everything started from Ile-Ife. But now everything is political. So some people will tell we're not related to Ife. But whatever it is, we grew up under that tradition. Ife is a very friendly place. It shares the same spelling as Ife, love. So, and Ife also was described as Afemoloju Toto, the one that opens your eyes to certain realities, So Ife for me was everything. So my secondary school, you want me to continue?
Yeah. Well, I think you have explained already that everything was in Ife. I think that explains it. So I would like for us to take it up a notch. Now, you have mentioned certain terminologies in the Yoruba language, and I know that your first degree was Yoruba language. I think it would be nice for us to delve into, some more complex.
How I got.
It will be interesting to know how.
Like, why do you live in Ife and still decide to go and study Yoruba?
Exactly.
You're already in Yoruba land.
Exactly.
Okay, I would say, right from my childhood days, I've always been a rebel. I am very rebellious. I like to tread where even angels fear to walk. I worked briefly as an errand boy in a bookshop in Ile-Ife where I got introduced to reading. I used to pick the books, CSS bookshops. It was the place I said, I'm speaking Yoruba now. It is that serious. It was the place I first met Dr. Tai Shulari, the great educationist. And then later I worked as a village teacher. In those days, you could not stay idle because your parents were poor. My father died when I was in Form 3. I was entering Form 3 in 1973, 13 years old when my father suddenly died. So I needed to provide some support for my mother, who was an unlettered woman, what we call an illiterate, if you want to be very frank. So after that, I worked at the university library, also again as a library attendant. I then realized that the University of Ife, every year over 200, 300 people will graduate from literature. Most people wanted to read law, they wanted to read medicine, they wanted to read pharmacy, architecture, physics, and so on and so forth. What you can call the funky courses. So whereas only 2 or 4 people will graduate from Yoruba. So I then asked, what is wrong with studying our own language? At this rate, our languages, indigenous languages, will go extinct. That was how the brainwave started. So to cut a long story short, I then decided that I wanted to do Yoruba. Even my mother, who was an illiterate woman, when she heard I was studying Yoruba, she marveled. She had to ask me, Ayoba Midele, she was in compared to Red Dr. Tony, are you such a dullard? And I said, Mommy, only me or daughter. Èdè wa ó dàbí Faransé, ó dàbí Gẹ̀ẹ́sì. Anyway, she couldn't do anything about it. So I studied Yoruba. When we started, about 71 of us started in part 1. By part 2, I think we were about 65. By part 3, we were about 30 something. The final year, we were only 6 of us.
Where people
everybody
dropping?
ran away.
They ran away.
They ran away. But the good thing about those days is that you took your elective courses from other, subjects. I was doing philosophy. I was doing literature in English up to part 3. So in the final year, I did what we call Yoruba Pombele, which is strict Yoruba. Yes. And I managed to get out with a second-class lower degree.
You still managed?
I managed. Yoruba was a very, we call it conk subject, very concentrated. Conk came from concentrated. It was very, very tough. Because you had to learn different things. Every language has the cultural aspect of it, and it's not easy to translate one language to another. When you say Oruku Tindi Tindi, Oruku Tindi Tindi, Oruku Bigbo Omo Bigbo Elaje, or you go into Dufa, Onikeke Logun, Alabaja Logbo, Onikolo Ladota, Adeafun Odun Baku, Tisha Won Bibi, no Agbon Iregun, Onikorubo, Nitori Iku, Onikofa Dera.
So now I know why you manage. So now me I go to old school now.
This is really very, very interesting, and one can see that connection with your background.
My background.
And I would like to ask, as we proceed, in this age and time, it would appear like our indigenous languages are going extinct. In fact,
with the new wave of Gen Z.
It is not going extinct. It is because the people you interact with are Jebotas. When you go into the villages, you will be amazed. I mean, right now, in fact, almost every wedding now has an Akewi. And that's serious business. In fact, I tell people that our language now is helping the businesses of some people. You have what they call the Alaga.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
You have the talking drummers. You have all kinds. You have bata drummers. You have all kinds of things now in Yoruba. Even the food we now eat. Gone are those days when people just ask for I want rice. Chinese rice, I want jollof rice. Now people eat amala. People eat begiri. They eat ewedu. So our culture is a very stubborn goat. It is difficult for you to kill culture, no matter how difficult it is. So go, and we have even white people coming to study our Yoruba. One of my lecturers, Professor Karim Baba, she adopted the Yoruba name Ajike Baba, and she was knighted by the Queen. Extremely brilliant woman. She's still there in England right now. She taught me directly.
Wow.
And she spoke, and what she did was to go to Okuku in Osun State, where you have all the local people who will teach you, and she specialized in Oriki Orile, the panegyric, which was like when if, for example, my grandmother woke up, the way she greeted me, Orifowoma, Omo Baninja, Orifowoma, Marora, Okoma Ba, Fori Olagun, Oritinjeku, Oritinjeja, Oritinja Kogogoro, Tishoko Agbebo, Omo Buni Buni, Abebu 113. So, and that's what she specialized in. In fact, in those days, if she asks you, say, where are you from? I say, I'm from Ofa in Kwara. She will start, a white woman, she will start saying, Omo Lofa Mojo, Omo Bishijoko, Ejakadi Loro Ofa. You will be sure. And she will use the original intonation. Original. One vacation, she saw me. I said, Ayabami Dele. Releni. Which is not Loleni. Releni. Munirarama. Etiri.
Yeah.
Kò sọ pé kí ló dé. Kí ló ṣẹlẹ̀. So the language is not going to go anywhere. I can tell you that now, even our musicians are making money from it. Gongo aso, gudu aso. Nice, that's what made nice. Èmi ọmọ bàbá olówó, that's what made Davido.
But you have, for example, schools now where people say the specification is maybe English and French.
We had them even in our time. Even at that, they didn't succeed. We had them. Don't speak vernacular. We used to call it vernacular in those days. Don't speak vernacular. But people who spoke, you can do that within the confines of the classroom. But once you are outside, The English I speak today, I had to learn it. I had to look at my Ajebota friends when they are speaking. When I'm saying three, like Iggy, they are saying three. So I had to teach myself how to stick out my tongue. Three. I'll go in one corner.
Interesting. It's really heartwarming to hear that, irrespective of what happens, our language, our indigenous language would remain with us. And we would like to encourage as many young people as possible to try, as much as you can, because that's your identity.
No, even Wole Soyinka, I must mention this. Everybody says, Soyinka won the Nobel Prize. They don't know why. The reason was based on one of his most famous plays, Death and the King's Horseman, which was an adaptation of the history and story of Omolukweshin, the Abobaku culture. In those days in Oyo, the king had someone like an ADC who was fed and prepared to journey with him whenever he's going on his journey to heaven. So they actually buried the Abobaku Omolukweshin with the king. So, and there was this particular edition when the king died, and they asked Abobaku, we have to go now. You have to follow the king. And the guy refused. I said, they refused. We were feeding you for that sole purpose. So that was what the play was about. And the use of English. What I've also realized that if you understand one indigenous language, your English will be phenomenal. When people read me, they marvel at, hey, how can somebody with a first degree in Yoruba be able to write good English? It's because I think first in Yoruba before I now transliterate. I don't just translate, I transliterate into English. So which makes it very flowery, very flamboyant, very colorful. So my English is not the usual English. It comes from my understanding of my indigenous language.
Okay, but sorry, I'd like to ask, because for clarity, anybody that has, Chief Dele Momodu, the first thing that comes to mind that he's a Yoruba man. Yes, I've lived on this earth for almost 40 years. I've been hearing Dele Momodu, or 40 years rather. I've always thought that Dele Momodu is a Yoruba man until one election cycle. And I saw Dele Momodu somewhere in Edo State. He said he home. I said, where is getting his home? Where exactly is Dele Momodu from? For clarity.
Okay, I will not talk about where Dele Momodu comes from. I will talk about where my parents come from.
Okay.
There's a difference.
Okay.
Yes, my father, I don't know how he navigated and meandered his way to Ile-Ife. So he found his way to Ife in those days like all adventurous kids. And he came from Iebe, which we now know as Owan East local government in Edo State. Settled in Ile-Ife, met my mother, Gladys Arike Momodu Omaroti Webiojo. And they got married, and I'm the only product of that union. My mom had 2 children, 4 others before she met my dad.
Father, yeah.
My dad also had 2 children from others before he met my mom. So, but I'm the last born for both of them. I was the last born for both of them, and that was it. So being born in Ile-Ife, I am honored to have been born in Ile-Ife. I call myself an Ife boy, because if I was born in America, that same day I'll get an American passport. And I should be able to contest. It pains me that Nigeria does not encourage such. There is no earthly reason, except in Lagos. I don't think there's any other place they will allow me to contest. I'm a bona fide Edo boy, but I'm also a bona fide Ife boy. Dioni tells everybody who cares to listen, Dioni Adeyeye Enitan Ogunwusi II, Diojaja II, and he says nobody can tell him I'm not an Ife boy. I grew up just right in the palace. I've lived through 3 Onis, Obaderemi, who was like our father, I'm very close to his children, grandchildren, and everybody. I lived through the Oni Oba Kwadeshijuade Olubushe II. I actually worked for him from the age of 25 to 26. And then after that, the current Oni. So nobody can tell me more about Ife. I know Ife inside out. And so, like I said, my parents, my mother came. Yeah, yes, if you call me half caste, you are not wrong at all. My mother came from Mogonia Ile-Ife in Osun State. And she was buried in Gbongan. My father was actually buried in Ife because at that time, the belief was in witches and witchcraft, and that if they took us home, they would have killed
us. At that time?
As at that time, yes. 1960.
Let me say which they live longer because see they now.
No, but right now we've demystified it. The day I was going home, my mother was crying that, hey, they are going to kill you. And I said, well, they are my people. If they brought me to the world, if they kill me, so be it. I want to know where my father
comes from.
Yes, and you won't believe it. I was warmly received, and no witch or wizard killed me. Otherwise, I won't be on this show.
Very true.
You know, and they gave me huge land, maybe about 6 plots of land on that occasion, and I promised that I will build. And I'm saying it for the first time on this program that I've succeeded in building a home.
You see now.
Wow. Congratulations.
That's back home in Edo State.
In Edo State,
Oh,
yes.
yeah, okay.
Congratulations.
In Edo State.
Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
So, I mean, the conversation about Yoruba language, culture, I know that we are still going to maybe, discuss certain interesting subjects around that. But I would like for us to, move to another level. And I would want us to look at, a very important period in Nigeria's history.
Right.
Now, you played a significant role in the resistance to military rule and thereafter the restoration of democracy. I would like us to go back. Now, you got married in December of 1992. And in 1993, you joined the movement,
MK
Abiola movement. And according to different reports, killer squads were looking for people who were looking for people who were in that movement and who supported, Moshood, Kashima, Olawale, Abiola. I would like for you to detail that experience, because a man who got married in 1992, December, and by 1993, a fresh husband material, is already running about.
Like you.
Yeah, so the wife is, I don't know. I would like for you to just detail what that experience was like.
I started by describing myself as a child of destiny and diversity. My life is surreal. It's just not a normal life. It's like if some of my friends call me action-packed like a Chinese movie. Everything is just fast-paced. Pin, roller coaster. In 1992, let me start from 1992. I was invited by Unduka Obagbena, the publisher of This Day. He was starting a new publication called Leaders and Company. This Day actually started at Leaders and Company. A lot of people don't know that origin, because like you said, we don't tell our history. So he invited me to be the editor, the first editor of that publication. And this was around November, December 92. My wedding was December 19, 1992. So we started the publication, or we started planning for the publication. We had an office at around Ribadu Road towards Dodan Barracks. Norman Williams is just off Ribadu Road. And one day, Unduka called me and said, I've heard that Abiola was going back into politics. I said, by then Abiola had become my adopted father. I had skipped that story. Maybe we'll come back to it later.
Okay.
So I said, Daddy, we used to call him Daddy. I said, Daddy had not told us. He said, no, that his information was coming from a credible source. I didn't doubt him, because Unduka had always been very close to the seat of power. So from his house, he was living in Mekwen Road in Nikoyi. I went to Kola Abiola's house in Anthony Village. And Kola said, he has just picked up the same information, but that his dad was still in Abuja. And then when he arrived, he confirmed. And then, so that was how I had to abort my work with Nduka. This was towards end of January of 1993. Like you said, I just got married just by barely a month. And so I told my wife, I said, Isheti Betrayal, that there is no way Daddy would be running a presidential campaign and I won't be a part of it. She said, no problem. Because during our wedding, Abiola drove all the way to Ijebu-Igbo on December 19, 1992. He drove all the way. And the week before, he had given me 50,000 naira, which at that time was like $50,000.
In 1992?
In 1992, yes, sir.
Wow.
He gave me 50,000 naira. In fact, he was getting honorary doctorate degree from the University of Ife. So I went to Ife to go and celebrate with him. He came in a limousine, and as soon as he came down, he saw me, he pulled my ears, and he whispered, wife. Wife is husband,
Yes, husband.
Husband,
man, yeah.
Why haven't you come back to see me? I said, I have seen you, sir, and you promised to attend. Then he pulled me again. That is not what he stammered.
Yes.
That's not what I'm talking about. We need some cash, I said, yes, sir. Okay. So you see me tomorrow in the house, and I will give you 50 grand, 50,000. My legs were shaking already. Then we entered the Oduduwa Hall where they were going to do the ceremony. So there was a waiting room downstairs. Then it was greeting people. The Oni Obashijade was there. Dr. Mike Adenuga was there. Then he saw me again. Then he pulled my hand. Wife. Do you think that money will not be enough? I said, the money is enough, sir. Okay, don't worry. I'll make it 80 grand. Only me that restraint. And then Dr. Adenuga came, go to my office. I've asked them to give you 25K. I said, I can't stay here. I left the ceremony because I could not even take it again. So you can imagine such a man now saying, he now not just giving you money, he came to the wedding physically in the night. So my wife was handed over to Abiola. Then after to use the word collect, after we collected, I don't want to use it. I'm now transliterating,
Yes.
So after we collected our wife, so Daddy asked, so where are we taking our wife for the evening? I said, we're going to Ijebu. From Ijebu, there is a place we call the Okunowo Palace. So Chief Chris Funola Okunowo, they owned Sony Music in those days. They produced Shino Peters, Adewale Ayuba, and all of that. So, and they gave me that place for our first romantic night. It was like a Victorian palace in Ijebu, with a very romantic, very beautiful place. So, do you know Abiola followed us there again? He said he will go with us. And when we got there, he was singing Christian songs. He was a completely different human being from anyone I knew. Ẹ jẹ́ ká fínú dídùn yìn Olúwa olóore, àánú rẹ̀ yóò wá títí lódodo dájú. That was that for you. He did all that. Then when he stood up to go, then he saw the people you can call like bridesmaids or friends of my wife. God will provide your own husband too. Baba Rere was the akapo who used to carry his bag of money. Baba Rere, very tall man. Baba Rere, give me a while. Baba Rere brought the bag and started giving everybody 10,000. 10,000 at that time. Trust me, $10,000. The people were not around. They were crying. They couldn't believe that they missed out on such humongous largesse. So like to cut a long story short, such a man, a month after, declares his presidential ambition, what will I do?
Of course.
I will be the ultimate ingrate, not to at least show some love. More so, I was still a young man and I didn't have any other preferred candidate. The other candidate, eventually, when he emerged, I didn't know him. Anyway, so that was how I told Nduka. I said, wow, I have to support MQ. He said that was fine. Nduka supported Tofa. So fortunately, there were only two parties. So Nduka went with
SDP,
Tofa, NRC, and
NRC.
NRC. So I went with Abiola. And we never quarreled. That's why when people say today, you are not supporting Tinubu, I said, democracy is by choice. You have a choice. My choice was Abiola, Nduka's choice. And I learned a lot from Abiola about what a choice meant. Because when people started saying Nduka was attacking him, Nduka said, no, I'm speaking only for my party. Interestingly, he had also attended Nduka's wedding. And he told us the last appearance he made before he was arrested, and we never saw him again, it was Nduka's event. I'll come to that later. So that was how, but what I managed doing was to recruit some of the guys who now started this day. I brought them from my former place of work, which was Classic magazine owned by Ezinne Ezekiel. Richard Mofedamijo's late wife was our publisher. So some of them, Okagbe Aduba, we had Augustine Sam, and there was this other guy, George Eno, who fought. So I recruited them for Nduka. So we couldn't start the publication because by then we were heavily in the campaigns. And so that was how I went into the Abiola campaign. Unfortunately, the June 12th, this a very interesting dimension. I was not even in Nigeria to vote. Because on the 9th of June, Chief Abiola sent me to Vienna in Austria to represent him at the Bruno Kreisky Award, where Gani Fawemi was being honored. He was ready to make such a sign because Gani was the biggest radical in Nigeria. And Abiola was fascinated by him. So I left on the evening of the 9th of June. So through London, I got to Vienna on the 10th afternoon. Then the event was on the 11th. The Bruno Kreisky Awards was on the 11th. Then on the 12th, I left Vienna and went back to London. And when I got to London, I was monitoring the election. So on Sunday, the 13th, I phoned Concord newspapers where I had worked in the past. And I asked what was going on. They said, I shouldn't worry. Chairman was coasting home to victory. Nothing was going to stop his victory. So I was quite elated. Then on the 14th, which was Monday, I called Nduka Obagbena in Nigeria because I knew he was always having serious information. And he said, in those days, we didn't have phones like now. He said, Dele, I've been looking for you. Where are you? I said, I'm in London. He said, wow, if you can reach your chairman, Chief Abiola, please reach him now. He's going to win the election, but the military will not give it to him.
Wow.
I said,
This
it's not
was
possible.
before the election was, the winner was even announced.
You will not be. I said Nduka was talking nonsense. How can somebody win election? They won't give it to him. The things we have seen in Nigeria. So anyway, so Chief Gani Fawemi joined me in London that day. God bless his soul. So I told him what Nduka had told me. I couldn't reach chairman anyway. So he too said, no, it's not possible. Hi. So on the 16th, which was a Wednesday, we decided to go back to Nigeria via Gatwick Airport. So, and then while we were at Gatwick, we got the information that they had stopped announcing results in Nigeria. So Chief got in touch with Dr. Beko Ransom Kuti, Fela's brother, got in touch with our brother, Mr. Femi Falana, now senior advocate of Nigeria. And so they all waited for us at the airport because Chief said the struggle will start as soon as we touch down. We must start the fight. So we started the fight, but nothing happened. And then towards end of July. I think 31st of July. Chief Abiola said I should come to his house to see him. That he wanted to send me a message to Tel magazine. And Tel was no longer operating from their regular office. They were in the bush, what we call the bush offices. I got to Chief Abiola's house at 2 p.m. He didn't see me until 4 a.m.
Wow.
I was tired. So by the time he came, the whole place was empty. I was the only person waiting for him in his sitting room. He said they should make me as comfortable as possible. And then he brought out some documents for me to take to the Tel guys. And he had this habit of seeing off his visitors. So he saw me off. And, and then when we got to the staircase, he likes pulling, when he wants to whisper, it's the Dele one. He likes to call me Dele one. Yeah. The Dele one. I'm sorry I've kept you waiting since afternoon, but I was holding a very important meeting. I'm the commander-in-chief.
Oh.
So I didn't understand it, but later I understood what he meant. So there are things we still can't say because the principal actors are still very much around. So I left. That night was the bachelor's eve of one of my colleagues, Mayor Akinpelu, maybe you know.
City people.
No, Mayor is the publisher of Global Excellence.
Global Excellence.
Yes. So he was having his bachelor's eve at La Campagne Tropicana in Adeni Jones. So I went there. It was getting to around 5, 6 a.m. By the time I was getting there, the party had ended. But I was in the mood, because I've been sitting down in one place all night. I was in the mood to just go out and jollificate. So I went to Water Parks on Toyin Street, where Shino Peters was performing. As I was getting there, Shino too was just packing up. I said, what kind of wahala is this? Me, I wanted some fun. I didn't know what was pushing me. Then I went to the night shift Coliseum of, what's it called? At that time, no, they were still on Okwebi. So I went there. And when I got there, they had finished. So the governor, Ken Caleb Zulumese, great man, said, I should sit down, let's have some drinks and all that. Anyway, we had some drinks and, a couple of sandwiches. And then I left. So I now went to Akwonjo, where Chief had sent me originally. I didn't even look at what Chief gave me. I didn't know they were very sensitive documents. Yes. Wow. So I went to the place to see Mr. Kolawole Ilori, who was one of the directors of Tel magazine. And I just gave him it. And it was a day, environmental day. It was a Saturday morning now. So I was able to drive because of the media tag. Yeah. So the roads were free, everything. So I just drove to my house. I was living, poor man at that time now. I was living in a place called Adigboluja in Ojodu. So that was where I was staying with my wife. We were newly married. And then I went into bed. I was tired. Then suddenly my wife rushed inside and said some people were banging on my door. And I said, who? She said she doesn't know that. That's why I'm the man now that I should go and ask them. So I struggled out of bed and I went. And I said, who are you? Then he said, we're from police headquarters in Moloni, that you are wanted. I said, wanted by who? Said, no, I should stop asking questions, that I should open the door, otherwise they will break it down. So my wife said, are you going to open? I said, you heard him say we'll break it down now, so we don't have a choice. So I opened, and this guy came in. He was apparently a northerner. And he said, my boss would like to see you. I said, who is your boss? He said, Assistant Commissioner of Police, Ganiyu Daudu. He said, he's in the car, so let me bring him up. I said, yeah, bring him. And then the man came in. We greeted, And then after we greeted, he said he has instructions to arrest me. I said, well, I've just gotten home. If he doesn't mind, he should give me some minutes to go and freshen up and pack my bag. He said, oh, I won't need my bag. I said, no. From Chief Ganifa Emi's experience, he was always ready. Anytime they came to arrest him, he had his bag packed. Everything.
Customer.
Yes, so I packed you. You can't sleep on the floor, you know. You have to use Dettol. So you must pack everything ready. And this was not the first time they were arresting me. I had been arrested before and taken to where there were coup plotters.
Oh.
Yeah, so another story for another day.
No, we'll still discuss that story. We'll still discuss that story today. But just complete this one.
So I got to the force headquarters and they took me, I think it must have been the 4th floor or something. And they just dropped me there. You know, when somebody wants to break you down, wear you down, mentally, physically, psychologically, and otherwise. I was left alone in that room for hours. No soul, no water, no food, no conversation, nobody in sight. And then eventually one woman came in and introduced herself as Mrs. Lawal. I can't remember her first name now, but that's another big story. You know? And she said, hello, Mr. Momodu. Hope everything is fine. I said, how can everything be fine in this place? She said, well, she doesn't know why they have asked them to arrest me. All she knows is that they said they should bring me to Abuja and all that. And one of them had whispered to me when we were in the car that I should do everything possible not to go to Abuja, because if they take me to Abuja, they will forget me inside prison. So I was praying that they will leave me in Lagos. And then later, they came back to tell me that they have to go and search my house. So they took me. The minister, Ganiyu Daudu, is dead now, he's late. I will pray for his soul. He really helped me to ensure that I was in Lagos. I will never forget. If his family or anybody is watching this, I'm saying a big thank you to them. There are good police people, but it's their job. They just must do it. Yes. He told me he had met me with a friend of mine. And the way I relate to people, I came here, it's like we all knew each other.
Yeah.
That's my style, you know. And so anyway, he said he would try to make sure I don't go to Abuja. So let's keep it. The person who said I didn't need my bag, by the time we were getting back from the search, they picked some documents which they said were seditious. Anyway, they told me, unfortunately, we won't be able to release you because we have to get order from above. And that was how they took me to the Alagbon detention center in Ikoyi. Again, Alagbon has 2 different wings with different cells. There is the regular wing and there is the executive wing. To be in the executive wing at that time, you would need, it's like paying for Sheraton.
Oh, you have to pay?
You have to settle some people now. It's not official, but you have to sort out the people to be able to get.
Because I've heard something like that before, just for.
So this thing don't take away the happen.
It's pretty cool.
It don't take. So, but a lot of them knew me already and all that. So in the cell, you will also have president. There is a president of the cell, there is Inspector General of Police, there is OC Treasury. In the cell, yes. There is OC Treasury, which is Minister of Finance. I later became OC Communications, Minister of Communications. Inside prison.
There's a hierarchy.
Wow. You know? So when I got in, I saw a man. He was also in detention. I don't want to call him a prisoner. He was in detention. But he tied a wrapper. He had a pot belly almost like mine or bigger, you know. And then he smiled at me, looked at me like this from afar when I walked towards him. He was under a tree. He was allowed as president, one of your privileges is that you can be outside,
Okay.
enjoying the breeze, you know. So he looked at me, said, "You are Dele Momodu, Abi?" Muni, "Yes, sir." Said, my name is Tunde Awelewa. I'm the managing director of 21st Century Finance House. He was a banker, big man. He said, "I knew you were going to get into trouble. I've been reading some of your stuff. I knew you were going to get into trouble. So what has brought you here now?" I said, "Trouble." You know. Then he shouted, "IG!" I was wondering, does the Inspector General of Police live in that place? He now said, "No, we have our own IG in this place." So the guy marched out. He said, "We have a new inmate here. So, Oga, here is Kalakuta Republic. Once you get here, you are no longer in Nigeria. So you have to make contributions to the state of Kalakuta." I said, "No problem." Then he called OC Treasury. That's the treasurer, the Minister of Finance. So I handed him the money. Then they took me inside. So there is an iron door, like a gate. They will open that gate. You will enter it. So I entered. Then they will lock it. Then they will ask you to face outside. And then the IG would say after me. Yes. "Goodbye to Nigeria. Goodbye to Nigeria. Welcome to Kalakuta Republic. Welcome to Kalakuta Republic." Then they will march you to the end of the cell where they had a board of do's and don'ts. And they will say, "Now read after me. Alejo Kawai, Alejo Kawai. Alejo Kawai, Alejo Kawai. No do, no do, no do, no do. I do am. Alarm blow, alarm blow. Now my head, I go take carry am. You have to knock your head against the wall and the president must hear it outside. Your head will almost scatter."
Wow.
What goes on in Nigeria? Forget it too. And I'm not sure those things have even changed. I'll fast forward. Then the first night, I couldn't sleep. It's difficult to sleep because the mosquitoes in those cells, I think they were of a special breed. So your face, everything will be swollen. And around that 5, because you haven't slept all night, then the sleep will now be coming in installments. You'll be going small. And then around after 5, one man will come, one of the officers. "Everybody wake up! No big man in prison. Go and fetch your water. Go and..." So later, one of the Ogbologbos in the cell now whispered to me, "That man where they make noise now, money in need though." "You need this old police officer?" I said, "Yes now." I said, "Like how much?" He said, "If you give him 50 naira, he go happy." I said, 50 naira. The man go slap me. He said, "No." I said, "You try it tomorrow when he comes." So when I was going to bed the following night, I put 100 naira under my pillow. Even that pillow, the different people had deposited different layers of sweat. And so my wife had to bring clothes and things to cover up. Anyway, the man came. "Hey, no big man in prison." No, say. I said, "Excuse me, sir." He said, "Yes." I just dropped the 100 naira. Hey, the man smiled. I thought he was slap me. He smiled. He said, "From today, you are our Minister of Communications."
Wow. They didn't make you AIG.
That was how it started. And then to use the washroom, we called it the World Bank. Everybody will go and deposit his own inside those buckets.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm saying this so that people can know what some of us suffered. Because people see us and just think and in my own case, a lot of people who suffered it, they've gotten the benefit. I've never requested for any benefit. I've never been in any government. I've been in opposition since 1982, at the age of 32, after I left university.
So the benefit that you refer to now is that some of the people who went through this experience now got into government,
and they are now doing the same thing to others.
Wow, that's terrible.
Wow.
That is the biggest pain for me. I tell people, and we will get there, that when people are saying, why would not you not support Tinubu? He was one of your own. I said, I don't mind if Tinubu cannot fix our economy, but he must fix our democracy. But that's what we fought for. I don't care. Everything else, I don't care. If he likes, he let him stay 1 million years. As long as he wins election genuinely, I will clap for him. But if it is about using force against opposition, I will complain, and I don't care. Anybody can say whatever they like. Because we fought for this democracy. Some people died for this democracy. So, their families are still suffering today. The scars are still written all over us. We haven't fully recovered. And yet, is this the democracy we fought for? My answer is no.
Okay, so I'm going to ask very quickly, because I think when you say, because I haven't gone through all this, and it was a lot of you guys who went through all this, and then up to now, how many years down the line, it's still not the democracy that you guys were fighting for. Do you think that we can ever have democracy? Because I share the sentiment that I don't think that there's democracy anymore. It's almost like, as you are living, you choose this guy. This guy where you don't choose now, where you choose now, he must enter. Right? So do you think at some point, the last election cycle in Nigeria looked as if it was going to be, how do I put it, a government of the people, for the people, by the people. At least for the first time, we could see that there was different opinion. People did decide. Do you think that we can ever have such an election cycle anymore with what we have right now?
I started life as an optimist. I hope I don't end life as a pessimist. It's a big question that you have asked. If I tell you I have the precise answer, I'll be lying. It is embarrassing to think that those who purportedly fought for democracy, they are the ones now endangering our democracy. I'm not sure if it will happen in our lifetime. I am not sure. So I'm playing safe. But we must all strive hard to make sure it happens. Because if it doesn't happen, you and I, our children, our grandchildren, and everybody will pay dearly for it. Nigeria is one of the most beautiful countries on earth. If I believe it's the most beautiful country, it's a land overflowing with milk and honey, which our leaders have bastardized. And I am hoping that something will happen. What will happen, how it will happen, when it will happen, where it will happen, I have no idea. But we just can't continue like this. A situation where one man, one group of people will hold an entire nation by the jugular. It won't go well for our democracy. I'm pretty sure of that. It has reached the stage where people are afraid to talk. Governors are afraid to talk. Governors of one party are going to the ruling party to go and pledge their loyalty, hoping that they will not remove them illegally, and one court will not justify the illegality. I mean, that's critical. Our situation is very critical. And if there is nothing else I can do about it, at least I can talk about it. And that's why I'm here.
Interesting. We are going to give you more time to talk about it when we get there. But that's your interesting story about your experience, because we would want you to wrap that up, and I would like for you to link that to all that your wife had to deal with. Because in all honesty, when we look at sacrifices that certain people make, we fail to recognize that there are so many people connected to them who also dealt with that situation. Imagine a newly married woman who is supposed to be enjoying her husband. Next thing, somebody knock for door, say you are a wanted man, and before you know, the man don't come up for house. You know, that pressure and all. So let's still go back to the prison experience. You know, then I think we will now go to how eventually you went on exile. these are terms that are not even common in our political in our political balance lexicon today. That some people will run away from their country, not in search of greener pastures, but because of they are afraid of their lives. So let's wrap with that Alagbon experience.
Okay, let me also ask you to kindly remind me later, before the end of this particular saga, to say, I started by saying it was a potpourri of sadness and joy. And we're talking about the sadness now, but we must also talk about the joy.
Yes.
Because I want to encourage people that it is not all sadness. It may discourage people that, why am I fighting? What am I fighting? God has a way of compensating the righteous.
True.
So, and I will want us to discuss that, to be able to encourage others who are in my situation right now. So the Alagbon thing, part of the sadness was that I was there for roughly maybe about a week or a week plus, by which time Abiola took off and went abroad. That was when they said he took his plane and ran away from Nigeria. I was very excited. I was hoping he won't come back because I knew that for as long as he was alive, there was hope that he would be able to recollect
his mandate.
So, anyway, I came out of detention. They were telling me I should not follow Abiola again. Me, I'm a one-way traffic. I said, nobody can stop me. So I went straight to Abiola's house. And when I got there, I went to see my former boss, Dr. Doyin Abiola, in our apartment. He had 4 apartments for 4 wives within his compound. Dr. Abiola was not very warm to me. And this is somebody who likes me, like because of my writing. She was my boss, she was my MD. And I was wondering, what is wrong? Why?
The cold shoulders.
But so there was a kind of cold shoulder. And then after some time, she could see, she too was uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable. She said, Dele, please, let's go into my study. She had the study in the place. So we entered the study. When we got there, so you must have noticed that I didn't warm up to you. I said, I was wondering what I'm just coming straight from detention. And I expected that you would be excited that I've been released. She said, some of your friends came here and told me that nobody arrested you, that you are in fact a spy.
Jesus.
Wow.
I will continue to talk about it. That's what happens in every struggle. Those who have not lifted a finger would always discredit those who have lost almost everything. Except God rescues you. So we had people within that organization that their own was to be rumor mongers. That I can't get over. I remember there were 2 guys who were part of the speech writers for MK Abiola at that time. Nnamdi Obasi, I believe, and Chike Akabugu. Brilliant guys. They used to work on the editorial board of the Concord newspapers. And some people went and told lies against them, blah, blah, blah. They were fired.
Kai.
Yes, one of them later died. He was a sickler. Later died. There was also Isaac Agbetusi. We used to call him Gaddafi. You will remember that tall man that was doing toilet business is good business.
Yeah.
He started those mobile toilets. Yes, it was Abiola's personal bodyguard at the time. And they went and lied against him that he was also, a mole and he was going to kill Abiola. They fired him.
Kai.
Oh, yes. Oh, the casualties of his struggle, many of them you will never know unless an insider tells you about them. I was an insider. And that helped me to be very careful about life. Your best friends, when they see that your boss loves you exceptionally, they get jealous. So even within that struggle, you still have to struggle your own struggle.
Around the struggle.
There were reports that some people would be seen around the late MK Abiola during the day, but at night they would go over to the other side.
Yeah, that's not a big deal. The day I was going to that Vienna I traveled to for the Bruno Kreisky Award, Abiola said I should come in the evening on my way to the airport to pick some money. So I went there, and unusually the place was quiet. We had just launched his books at National Theatre. The book I think was compiled and written by Dr. Yemi Ogunbiyi and Dr. Chidi Amuta, you know. And so I was shocked that Abiola's house there was always crowded. And this was 3 days to the election, on the 9th of June. So when I got there was only one man in the city. I said, what's going on? So Chief said I should come into the bedroom. So I went into the bedroom with him. Then he whispered to me, Dele one, that man sitting outside is their spy.
Wow.
He's all wired up. They've asked him to come and check the mood in my house so that he will report back to them. He said, me, I'm a game player. I know that game. He said, I am giving him the impression that I cannot win that election. You know, so he will go and report back to them. Because otherwise, they may not even allow this election to take place. You remember that Aton Zeribi, all of them, they wanted to stop the election now. So that guy must have gone to tell them that Abiola's house, there is no jubilation, or nobody is even, in fact, they are worried that the chief says he can't win. Chief told them he can't win that election. He played them.
Wow.
Yes, they almost stopped the election. They were going to stop it, go to court and stop it. Nothing will happen now. If they can kill an entire election, they will stop it. Nothing was going to happen. So I was an eyewitness to some of these shenanigans.
Wow.
Yeah, so talking about family, my family was not too badly affected until much later when Abacha came. You know, with Babangida is a very cosmopolitan man, you know, very breezy, very friendly. If you are arrested, you can still negotiate with him. But with Abacha, there was no negotiation. You know, so my wife, in 1994, 95 now, Abiola said we should go on vacation. Because since we got married, we've never had time for honeymoon or anything. So imagine, despite his own situation, he was still encouraging us. My wife could not take him. Where was the time for you to fire that house?
Wow. So because of all that you have to deal with.
You are constantly on the road. As you go to Jos today, you are going to something tomorrow, you are going everywhere. Your wife can't be following you now in such situations.
Was there ever a time where your wife asked you to leave politics behind, or she wanted you to, or you could feel that pressure from her?
No. You see, because Abiola had just been too nice to us, and she knows me. Even if she asks me, I will not agree. I'm a one-way traffic. If you tell me don't, I will not. Every day, people call my wife. People attack me. People abuse me. Even something as ordinary as I was supporting this big brother girl, what's her name? Erica. Imagine, Erica. I didn't know this. I wasn't even watching the thing, but I just read somewhere on the internet that they chased her out of the big brother house. So I got interested. What did she do? You know, and then I support the underdog. So I saw that, why would they do this to this girl? And I could see that she was almost going mental, you know? And I said, no, and I'm going to support her. People started attacking me. They started attacking, especially when I wrote that she's going to be the star of Africa. Hey, they got angry that she cannot even be the star of Nigeria. Talk less of Africa. I got to a stage, my wife called me. He said, the way people are attacking me, she's ashamed. People are telling her. I said, madam, sorry, be ashamed. But this girl, I'm going to support her. Hey, what's your own? And I said, you even say she's my girlfriend, no problem. But I'm telling you that I'm not going to allow some kids to bully me off my social media account. That's one thing about me. Once I take a position, and you will not believe it, what I said was going to happen was what happened. She became an African star. She did not win. She was ejected. She was rejected. But for me, she became the biggest star of that moment. I don't know. What happened? Lekon won or Lekon?
Yes.
Okay, so real quick. What were apart from the challenges that you just laid down, what were the other challenges that Abiola faced, and how do you think it could have been handled differently then?
Well, the challenge that you would normally face in situations like that is all kinds of fake and genuine advice.
Biggest.
That's the biggest thing now. People will come up with all kinds of... I remember when the Abacha coup happened, I think it happened November 17, which must have been a Thursday, if you Google it, I don't know. Time. It's been long now, 30-something years. So, Abiola went into hiding. I think he knew something was going to happen, so he had to go into a bunker, So all of us went into different bunkers at different times. So he went to a bunker somewhere off Allen Avenue and didn't come out until, I think, Saturday. The thing happened on a Thursday, and he came out on a Saturday. And then he called a meeting of his inner caucus. In that meeting, we had Alhaji Tele Lukoya. We had Alhaji Shukwadetono, the younger brother of the Awujale of Jebu land. Okay. We had Professor Femi Abalajobi. We had Yabo Ababa, the younger sister of Dr. Doyin Abiola, and myself. We were in a room and we were discussing the Abacha coup, because Abacha had promised to reinstall Abiola. Yes. That was the promise before he did his coup, that he will come, take over and clean out the Babangida guys. I haven't fully read the Babangida account, so I would like to see if he discussed that in it. But this is an angle that I'm telling you, and I can tell you it's very factual. So he was promoting and projecting himself as a pro-democracy soldier. That was how Abiola lost his guard.
Okay.
He believed him. Abiola is like me. I believe people easily. There's a situation I'm facing right now as I'm talking to you now, and I'm looking stupid because I believed in certain people. I thought everybody's like me. So Abiola was like that. But if you ask my weakness is I trust. I don't bother about agreements, and if I will honor my side, if you don't honor yours, but if I choose to fight, I will fight it out. But more often than not, I just let it go if I can afford. So at any rate, so we were in that meeting. Of course, I was the smallest person. I was just watching and listening, but he allowed me to be there. And then, one after the other, his inner caucus was telling him, you fought Babangida, he left. You fought Shonekan. By then, Abacha took over
from the interim government.
You fought Shonekan, he left. Now you want to start fighting Abacha again. When people say, is it only you?
These were some of his members of his inner caucus.
Yes. One of them stood up and said, Chief, if you studied the speeches of Abacha before the coup, you will know he's a pro-democracy soldier. They were justifying him. So why don't you try and cooperate with him so that everything will go well? So you can't be fighting everybody. It's not everybody that is battle ready in the struggle. For different reasons and different motives. People will say whatever is convenient for them. Okay. So when they said that, Abiola now said, Dele, I want you to go and get me some of Abacha's speeches before the coup. And I said, okay, I should be able to get some of them at Tell magazine. And they were on Acme in Ikeja, so Acme Road. So that night I fished out their librarian, and then we got some of the speeches. So on Sunday morning, I took those speeches to Chief Abiola's house. When I got there, they said he was in Dr. Doyin Abiola's apartment. He used to eat in different, depending on the wife. It's like in turns, polygamous home. So I went to see him there. Dele, go and wait for me upstairs. He was eating. I remember he was eating beans and something that day, that morning. So I went there, waited for him. Then when he came, we went into his bedroom. Then he said, Dele, have you heard? I said, heard what's that? Baba is leaving us. Money, which Baba? Baba Gana Kingibe. I said, your vice president, they leave. I said, Chief, don't listen to rumor mongers. I said, it's not possible. I said, he's gone.
His vice presidential candidate.
Yes, he was the one who broke the news to me. Said, Baba is going. He didn't say the name. He said, Baba is going. I said, who is Baba? He said, Baba Gana Kingibe. And that's not all. Your big brother, your Egbon, is also going. I said, which Egbon again? He said, Bino Topsy, Chief Ebenezer Abatokwe, who was the biggest radical of all of us. The way you open your mouth is the way I opened my mouth. It almost reached my ears. I said, this is getting out of hand, though. So he called a meeting of all the big leaders in his house that evening for them to come. And when they came, they were just speaking in staccato voices. Okay. This one will say that one will say that. I'm not in politics because of anybody. I'm not. Where me too have decided to join the Abacha because if we don't go, other groups will take the appointments. Yes, one by one, they were just stripping the man naked. The story of June 12 has not been fully told.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long, long story. Like the band, you say, long, long thing. Yeah. So, that was it. And at the meeting, they told Abiola, you have to go and negotiate with Abacha. You have to go and meet him. And so that they will not accuse him of not listening to his supporters. He planned to leave. So that night, he drained dogs and cats. So they couldn't make it. They now postponed the meeting to the following day. So that was the picture you will see Tinubu behind Abiola.
Yes.
Abacha and Abiola are walking, and you see Tinubu somewhere in the background. So Abacha told them, don't worry, I will sort things out, but nothing was sorted out. Eventually, it just consolidated power.
Kai!
Yeah.
With support from people who were loyal to MKO Abiola.
But most of them were his ministers now. Most of the pro-democracy people, Chief Olu Onogoruwa, who became Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Chief Ebenezer Atokwe became Minister of Transport. There were many of them. Baba Latif Jakonde was a minister. Mr. Alexi Brew was a minister. Alhaji Abubakar Rimi was a minister. All the big guys, joined that government. And that was it. And what was worse was that some of them were justifying it with, we're not in politics because of anybody. Nobody said you're in politics, but you should be in politics on matters of principle, So Abiola went through so much. So then by 1995, during the anniversary of June 12, Abiola declared himself president. And that was when the Wala started properly. And he had to go into hiding for 13 days. So he went into hiding. The last place he was hiding was in Surulere. Only a few people knew his movements, It was in Surulere in Senator Wahab Dosumu's house in Surulere. And we had to go and bring him out. And then he came back to his house at Moshood Abiola Crescent off Toyin Street. So we were in a convoy. And the jeep, it was an open roof jeep, was supplied by Prince Ademola Adeniji Dele of blessed memory. And there was one man. Abiola was in the middle, and there was one man hanging outside the door on the right. I was hanging on the left. And when we got close to the turning into Moshood Abiola, because you won't believe what happened. Someone, apparently the man on the other side was a babalawo, like a herbalist, a juju man. Someone supplied. That's the thing about politics. So they said, don't worry, that if that man is there, the police will not be able to catch Abiola, and the man will release honeybees and, into the sky. He was the first to panic.
He was
the first to panic. And Chief Abiola was full of humor, So when we got there, the man just stretched to Chief. And all those police people waiting for us.
He's meant to disperse.
The person who is supposed to have audience.
And the chief said, don't worry, I'm their commander-in-chief. Yeah, Chief was a bold, courageous. I said, don't worry, I'm their commander-in-chief. And I was watching all this. I knew the person, the supplier of the Babalawo, I can't mention. And as I said, my life is a potpourri of sadness and joy.
We'll still get to the joy. It's not like I love sadness, but I would want
to exhaust the sadness.
Yes, so that people would, so that
when joy comes in the morning,
so that when joy comes in the morning,
it comes fully.
So there were police officers stationed already.
Hundreds of them.
Wow.
So they allowed us to drive into Moshood Abiola. It was a gated estate. So we drove into it. They waited patiently. The vulture is a patient bird.
Mm-hmm.
So we got in. And then some of the old babas had suggested that we should do the Iranian style, where you use, they call it passive resistance. You use the massive crowd to protect the leader.
To form like a human shield.
Shield, So we thought the human shield option would work. In Nigeria, nothing works.
Nothing works.
All the things that will work elsewhere won't work in Nigeria. Anyway, we got inside. People were eating amala. We had some maybe Fuji musicians thinking that we could motivate those who would protect our leader. As soon as people heard the amala, they were going home one by one.
Wow.
Nigeria, we don't have a history of sustained struggle. That's why NLC will say we will shut down the country every time. I've heard it more than 100 times in my lifetime.
And the country will shut them down.
Wow.
So, and I left. Chief himself allowed me to go I hadn't freshened up in 48 hours. I was feeling sticky and everything. So I went home and I told him I'll come back. Because come rain, come shine, I wasn't going to leave him. So I went and then came back. By the time I came back, those police people that the Babala was supposed to help us disperse, they had actually dispersed themselves into Abiola's house.
Wow.
They had surrounded everywhere. And they were not allowing cars to go out or to go in. I got there, I couldn't do anything. So I went to a business center on Allen and phoned the house. And I was able, the security people connected me to Baba. That was the last time I spoke to him. He said, Dele won. I hear they are coming to arrest me at about 1 a.m. But I don't think Sonny can try it. Sonny tried it.
Wow.
And it was
so where is it? Sonny means Sonny Abacha?
Sonny Abacha.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they arrested him. So the following day I read that they had arrested Chief. So I went to his house. The wife said they took him away. They don't know where they are taking him to. After a few days, he smuggled out a letter. I'm sure he must have sent to different members of the family. But at that time, I was reporting to my boss, Dr. Doyin Abiola, who told me she received the letter and that Chief was asking about me. And I was even asking me to come and see him. But I should disguise, come with a recorder and a camera. It would have been a dangerous mission. But I agreed.
You're ready.
I was ready to do it. My wife was shaking. Asking if my wife, because she didn't discourage me. She was just shaking. She said, if it's Chief, we must do it.
Wow.
And yes.
Your own wife.
My own wife. Said if it's anything, Abiola, there are people that in this world, anything for them, if I have it, if I can afford it, even if I can't afford it, if I can borrow it, I will find it. Abiola was one of them. There is another man. We will talk about him in the course of this conversation. You know, and I borrowed a chief dress, like a Benue man, you know, and so I got the recorder and the camera. So on my way, I was supposed to fly to Maiduguri, then drive from Maiduguri to Damaturu, and from Damaturu to Gashua prison.
He was kept in
Gashua at first. Yes, he was kept in Gashua at first. So, and Chief Ganifaime had been kept there before, and I was an authority on Chief Ganifaime. I was the one always reporting stories about his experience in that prison. So I was fully prepared. I had gone to ask what was the place like. You know, my theory is that before you go to a place, you must do your investigation. Mm-hmm. So at any rate, on my way, I spoke to Dr. Abiola, and she said, no, I shouldn't waste my time, that they had moved him. So they kept moving him, and I never saw him again. I was looking forward to seeing him. I never saw him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. We would still proceed. Let's now talk about how you were forced to run away from Nigeria. The circumstances surrounding that incident and a vivid description of the incident, because if not for film, then put this, now only film, those kinds of things they happen. But today you would explain in detail.
Even in a movie, a lot of the things I'm saying, people will say, oh, it's an exaggeration, hyperbole. And no, I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm being very sincere and straightforward. I'm saying it because you've described your mission to me, and your mission is for people to know that a lot of water passed under the bridge. Because in Nigeria, people just think we're just here. I am personally saddened that we have not been able to get things right, despite all this huge sacrifice. So now about running away, I never planned to run out of Nigeria. On July 22nd, 1995, I remember it vividly. I had left Abeokuta. I had gone to see my professional godfather, Chief Olusegun Oshoba. So I passed the night in Abeokuta, and I came back to Lagos. So on my way home, I saw my wife's car, and I said, what is my wife doing here? So then I saw her. I said, Madam, what are you doing here? He said, I'm waiting for you. I said, how did you know I would pass here? He said, well, I had to take a chance because some people came to the house this morning to tell me to tell you to disappear.
Wow.
Yes, 22nd July, 1995. I said, what have I done? She said she doesn't know, but they told me that there is a credible intel that if I stay, they will arrest me and may charge me for treason, which might be punishable by death.
Wow.
From that moment, where I saw my wife till today, I never saw my house again.
Wow.
Never. Because I lost everything. They had to pack out. Because it was a rented house at the time. Yeah. In Adigboluja. I never went back to the house. So I just told my wife, so I had my British passport on one passport and all that. Then I called a friend of mine who had run into exile, Tokunbo Afikuyomi, like Tinubu. So they had what they call Nadeko route at the time. So anyway, I asked, so what do I need to do? They said I should go and get an ECOWAS passport so that my regular passport is not seen or confiscated on the way, and that I should have at least 2 or 3 other people with me. So that was exactly what I did. I had 3 people with me, and Lord have mercy. So I told my wife I have to leave. So I sent a message to a very wealthy Nigerian who I had met in 1991, 3 years earlier. Because I never planned to run away from Nigeria. So I didn't have money even that would take me all the way and all that. I was just a regular journalist and PR consultant to a few companies. Anyway, the man said they should give me some money to spend on the way, to spend when I get there. And then I called my friends who were already in the Nadeko problem. And then they told me, okay, you have to go and get a passport, you have to go and get this and then, but don't go straight through the Seme border. There is a smuggler's route. Yes. So my brother-in-law, Captain Rotimi Seriki, he was a pilot. So he is of blessed memory now. He really helped. So he investigated, he had friends and all that. And so we agreed to go. Then Kunle Bakare, the publisher of Encomium, he was one of the founders of Fame magazine, was with us. We had, who was the third person? Mayor not Mayor. Captain Seriki. Okay. Mr. Bola Orolugbagbe is now a high chief in Ilesha. So, is the Odole of Igisha land. So he followed us. Kunle Bakare, Encomium, and Captain. So 3 of them. One person had my bag, another had my passport, and we had to do it just in case, so that at least we will not lose everything. So I was just going in front, dressed like a farmer going to his farmland, 5 a.m., I'd left my wife and my child of under 1 year old. Yes.
The child was under 1 year old.
Under 1 year old.
Did you ever live with the thought that you might not see them again?
Oh, yes. That's why I cried. When I crossed into Cotonou, I was crying like a baby. I was so scared that where am I going? When will I get there? Will I ever get there? Will I ever come back? And if I come back, when? Will I be alive or will I be dead? In literature, we call it stream of consciousness. It was just flowing. And the other thing, we call soliloquy in literature, where you are soliloquizing and, just imagining all sorts happening to you. So that was my situation. So eventually we got to Cotonou, then they found me one place to go and freshen up, change my outfit and everything. And I said I was still scared because Cotonou was too close to Nigeria that they would still come and find me in Cotonou. From there, I moved to Togo. From Togo, I moved to Ghana that evening. So I got to Ghana and I found a very beautiful country, which I liked. And I promised that when all this is over, I'll come back to live in the country. So that was it. And I don't even know.
Wow. Interesting.
I just really feel like this is quite unfair because do you think they teach this in schools? Like they teach this in history?
Nobody's interested. Even if you want to teach it. I'm surprised that you are even listening with rapt. A lot of times when I try to tell these stories, they will cut it.
Sure.
They will say, because they are not interested. Nobody is interested in your story. Hey, you suffered. Oh, pele.
So, sir, what do you think is necessary for Nigerians to do to ensure that the sacrifices you made, Abiola made, and others made is democracy is not just swept under the rug?
That's why it is painful that those you thought fought for this are in power. And we can't even talk freely. I can't get over that.
Okay, sir. So you've detailed how you have left Nigeria. How, first of all, you find out that Nigeria is no longer safe for you to live in. You've left your wife, your child that is under 1 year old. You've had to cross through Cotonou to Togo to Ghana. So now we want to know about your life in exile. Nigeria is no longer safe, but your wife and child are still left behind. What did that look like for you?
I was going out of my mind. Naturally, I was particularly worried for the safety of my wife and my first son. They had to join me. The question was how and when. My wife is very brave and audacious. She's a prayer warrior, unlike me. I call myself a sinner, so she helps once in a while to pray. And she insisted on going through the airport. That for me didn't make sense. You could see what I went through, like a camel going through the eye of a needle. That was how I got out of Nigeria. So she said she would go through the airport. And so I had no choice. So we bought the ticket for her and my son. And then I was waiting at Gatwick Airport the following day. And I waited and waited. And all other people, passengers, were coming out. My heart just froze that maybe they've arrested her and my son. I remember on that flight there was Mrs. Kufori Jolubi, one of the top corporate female leaders, a chartered accountant and all that. At that time, my wife didn't come out. After some time, I just saw her, with the trolley. My son was sitting on top of the trolley and everything, and I was so excited. And so we were staying with a friend of ours, Bengalu lawyer, in Custom House. Then later he moved to Beckton in East London. The question now was, what will I do for a living?
Especially coming from being comfortable.
Yeah, from being very comfortable. Very. My wedding was rated as one of the top 3 weddings of 1992 in Nigeria.
Wow.
Yes, and that was the year Kola Abiola got married. So you can imagine.
Son.
Yeah, Abiola's son. And my wedding was rated by Punch as one of the top 3 weddings of that year. So you can imagine, so I wasn't a poor man. By 1995, I was already a consultant, media PR consultant to Chief MK Abiola. In fact, I started advising Chief Abiola from the time I was barely 30 years old. Yes, God really blessed me. So you can imagine an account like that. I was managing Summit Oil International, which was the second indigenous oil company in Nigeria to strike oil in commercial quantity. After that, I started working for Dr. Mike Adenuga, the chairman of GLOW, who was the first to discover oil in commercial quantity, corn oil, which was called consolidated oil. That corn oil is still there till today. It was number 1. Abiola was number 2. Then thereafter, I was working for the chairman of UBA, the man who first bought UBA at that time, Akim Bello Osage. All the top guys in Nigeria
were in your back pockets.
They were just, because I think I was born for PR. If I package you, you must smell like rose. And God gave me that interconnectivity. I can connect to anybody. I always say that your network is your net worth. I started very early. I was, a private secretary to Chief Akamoburu, the former deputy governor of Ondo State, when Ondo was a combination of Ondo and Ekiti. I was only 23 years old.
Wow.
After that, I worked for the Honor of Ife, Oba Okwadeshiju Adeyolubushe II. I was 25, 26. Then I went back for my master's degree, and by the time I finished, the first job I got was for MK Abiola in 1988. I got to Lagos in May 1988. By May 1990, I became the highest paid editor in Nigeria.
Wow.
Yes, 2 years. Because I was working like what we call Okobo Enoch. They said, an Okobo can work hard. I was like that. Because I was the fear of poverty going back to Ife. I said, I must make it. So, the story of my life, so now imagine suddenly finding yourself in exile. And my younger cousin, Shegun Fatoye, called me one afternoon and said, so what will you be doing in London? I said, I don't know. You don't know. Said, London, there's no big man here. Very soon, if you're not careful, you'll be washing plates or even dead bodies. I said, no, it's not going to be my portion. I said, then you must do something. He was the one who suggested to me, I didn't even have the brain to think about it, that hey, you are a damn good journalist back home. Why don't you start something? I said, but money, my mom taught me that money says, if it is not at home, let no man make any plans in his absence.
I know that right. They plan with me.
In the plan. So, and then he said, let's do a business plan. Let's see what's chasing us before we start running. So we did the business plan. We saw that small scale, we needed about 150,000 pounds to start. If you sold my family from first generation to the last generation, there was no way I could come up with that kind of money. I approached my bank manager at the National Westminster Bank in London, NatWest. And the lady, a white lady, looked at me and said, Dele, I like you so much. I said, yes, I know. He said, but I can't help you because you have no record, no history of doing business in the UK. Nobody can give you a loan. He said, but I can take a risk. I could see the enthusiasm in your face, so I can take a risk and give you a loan of £5,000.
From 150,000.
From 150,000. And then my uncle, Chief Ezekiel Fatoye, he was one of the directors of Nitel in those days. In our family, we have scholars. We know how to read books, but we don't know how to count money. So he had to scrape his savings and everything, and he gave us the first £10,000.
Wow.
Eventually, a few friends also contributed their own,
Widow's mite.
Yeah. And it was nowhere near what we wanted. Shortly before we started, one of my partners pulled out. He said my ideas were too fantastic and fantabulous that it cannot fly. That how can you have about £20,000 and you want to go and rent an office in Docklands around Canary Wharf?
Docklands, Canary Wharf.
We were among the first 3 black businesses there. I was very audacious.
£20,000.
Yes, and I spent £14,000 on rent for 1 year. Remaining £6,000.
So we're talking about what year?
1996.
As a 1996, £14,000.
Yes.
That's a lot.
I'm a risk taker. I tell people you can't be a good publisher if you're not a gambler. Oh yeah, it's the ultimate casino. Only the big players can survive. Because the higher the risk, the bigger the jackpot. So that was how we started it. But it worked wonders. But before it worked wonders, another sad story. The day we moved in, we went and bought some second-hand furniture. In London, you can get furniture that will look as if it is brand new, but they're actually used. So we were in the office, we set it up, then we bought a bottle of cognac, say, okay, let's celebrate. And now we're about to begin. Wham! A bomb exploded. I started running. Abacha. I thought Abacha had found me out in London.
Oh my goodness.
My cousin abandoned his wife. Everybody for himself, God for us all. Everybody running in different directions. Actually, it was a bomb from the IRA at that time, Irish Republican Army.
Wow.
And the police had evacuated the whole area. We were at the South Key Station. They had evacuated. We didn't know because we were right in the middle of the building.
Wow.
Do you know? The first thing that came to my mind is, so my friend who warned us not to take the office, you see, foolish people. You went there and took, and that's the thing about Nigerians, we belittle ourselves. A lot of us lack ambition. You want, how many of your mates using Docklands? You could have gone to Hackney, you could have gone to Streatham, you could have gone to Peckham or Brixton. No, I don't operate like that. I follow my own instinct. So, fortunately for us, and that's why it's good to pay for something of good value. Do you know that bomb blew up over 100 buildings? Yes, in the neighborhood.
Wow.
For years, some of those buildings were not yet reconstructed, and our own survived. You know why? The place was bomb-proof.
Wow.
Wow.
So we were able to return. That's part of the joy.
Yes.
When I say joy, it's part of the joy of doing something of quality. And then the other part about the joy was that any man, anyone who was who at that time wanted to see that office. All the big people started trooping in.
Wow.
Even King Sonny Ade came, Baba Ebenezer Obey came, Sonny Okosun came, Lagbaja came. Cover in London, people in London, Egungun came to our office. everybody came. And that was how everybody wanted to be innovation. Then we started advertising ourselves, saying that if your event is not innovation, if your wedding is not innovation, you may have to do it again. Yeah, I was a master of hype now.
Yes.
I hyped ovation to the highest level. But we were having problems because I couldn't enter Nigeria. So you have to depend on people. So every day I had issues, and I was just wondering when it will end.
Damn.
The biggest challenge of exile and the biggest multi-dollar question is, when will it end? If they say your mother died, you can't go. Your father died, you cannot go. Yes, because once you sign to be a refugee, if you pull out the application, that's the end. So we applied for refugee status, what we call asylum. The good news again was that I don't know of any other family that was granted full asylum. The British government granted me and my entire family full asylum because my story was very straightforward.
Wow.
The other miracle was that when they were going to give us accommodation, we applied through the Camden Council, and the first place they took us was near a cemetery. And you are not allowed to reject anywhere they take you. You must accept it. We were already crying. My wife said, how will I be sleeping with all these dead people around us? You know? And then we got to the apartment. On paper, they wrote that it was a 3-bedroom apartment. But when we got there, it was 2. So we had
A legitimate
To
ground
to
reject
reject it.
Wow.
So when they were not going to give us another apartment, they gave us in Hampstead East. The good thing about the British government, which I love about their welfare system, is that they do not want the gap between the rich and the poor to be too wide. So in every neighborhood where you have rich people, they will also provide something like council flats for the poor. So we're now giving a house next to the Royal Free Hospital in Hampstead. And Hampstead is where you find a lot of the movie stars and musicians and all this, very posh area, close to Bishop's Avenue, close to Golders Green, close to Swiss Cottage, close to St. John's Wood, And that was what they gave us. And that was how we started rebuilding our lives. God, I'm a child of destiny. There is no question about that. Because after a few years, they offered us the apartment to buy it. Of course, we didn't have money to buy. So we approached my wife's bank, Halifax, I believe at the time, for mortgage. And when they valued the property, it was valued at £230,000. And do you know how much the council was selling it to us? 132,000.
Wow.
So maybe we had an equity of about £98,000 immediately. So I told my wife, I said, look, I've suffered enough, but now let me enjoy. I went and bought a Bentley. I'm telling you, my life, I'm very adventurous. I just went to a place called Straight 8 in Shepherd's Bush, where they sell second-hand Bentley. But I got a good one and a left-handed one, which is not so that I can bring it
To Nigeria.
to Nigeria. Yes.
You use one bed to
So
keep
you
two
always
stone.
knew that you were going to come back.
Oh, no, there was no question about that. For as long as I was alive, I never planned to live abroad. So until Abiola died, I couldn't move. But they gave us refugee passport to travel all over the world except to Nigeria. You can't go to a place where you say you are particular. If you go there, it invalidates your stay automatically.
So what happened on the night that General Sani Abacha died? Because across parts of the Southwest, it was a frenzy. People took to the streets. People were celebrating. I would just like for you to detail your experience in London when you got that news.
It's very interesting. Chief Segun Oshoba, I keep mentioning him as my mentor and my ultimate hero in journalism. I love him to bits. So Chief Oshoba was also wanted at that stage. So he fled Nigeria and he was living in his house in Swiss Cottage, which wasn't too far from us. And I think he had a back pain at the time. And he needed to exercise, do his physio, and so I used to go and join him. And then we take a walk together uphill because there were a lot of hills around there. So we'll walk together. And then one morning, one morning, someone called me and said, have I heard that Abacha is dead? Early morning, I said, how can Abacha die? Abacha can never die now. Abacha. Stop, don't say nonsense before they arrest you. I said, Abacha, I said, I just went back to sleep. Then after a few minutes or so, then my phone rang. Chief Oshoba was on the phone. Chief said, Dele, where are you? I said, I'm still in bed. You are in bed. How can you be in bed when your biggest enemy has died? I said, no, which enemy died? I said, you two, Daddy, you are helping them to spread rumor. He said, can you shut up? Which rumor? He said, you know, I'm the best reporter Nigeria ever produced. You know, we always call him the best reporter. You know, he said, Abacha is dead. I said, okay. Within seconds, my phone started ringing. CNN called me. Yes, and said, are you aware that Abacha has died? I said, who told you that? He said, we've confirmed it from various sources. He's dead. That if at this stage, they are already making plans to go and bury him in Kanu. So that was how they invited me to their studios around, I think, Tottenham Court Road at that time. So I dressed like I was going to a wedding. And then we started planning and hoping and dreaming that Abiola would be released soon. I don't know what happened. But on July 7, I remember that day vividly because my second son was born July 7. And by the way, my lucky number is 7. I'm 7 years, 7 months, 7 days older than my wife.
Nice.
I've never, 7 is the number of perfection. You know, our houses is usually number 7, number 77, number 67, flat 7. You won't believe it.
Wow.
My wife was born in 1967. My father died in 1973. My mother died in 2007. You know, my life, if I want to rent a house now, I'll just get there, I will find 7. Our office in Ikeja GRA is number 67. You won't believe it. And it's not as if I'm the one looking for it. No, not on purpose. So that day, a man, he had problems with his eyesight. His name is Yinka Ibiduni. The Nigerian was working on Spectrum Radio in London. So he woke me up, I think a few minutes after 7. Said, Mr. Dele, you know, blind people, they amplify
the other sense.
Yes. So I said, I'm sleeping now. He said, they want to kill your father, you are sleeping. I said, he wants to kill my father. He said, Chief Abiola. He said, you not aware? I said, I'm not aware. He said, I've just listened to BBC World Service or whatever, and they interviewed the Americans who came to see Abiola today. Thomas Pickering and Susan Rice, and from what I can deduce from their interview, Abiola would die. Abiola had not died. You will not believe it at that time. I said, please, I don't understand what you are saying. I said, Abiola would die. He said they asked them that other world leaders had come to visit Abiola in Nigeria, including the United Nations Secretary General, Dr. Kofi Annan, and the Commonwealth Secretary General, Chief Emeka Yaoku. And Abiola said he will not compromise. So they asked the Americans, so what will you do different and what will happen if Abiola also says no to you? He said the answer was, then Abiola would have become a danger to Nigeria. Yes.
The Americans gave this answer.
That's what Ibiduni told me. Yinka Ibiduni. So I panicked. So I quickly put a call through to Wura Abiola, Abiola's daughter. Call Abiola, same father, same mother. You know, very brilliant girl. Very, very, very brilliant lady. One of my heroes. I really respect her brain. So I was interacting with her at that time. And the day before, 2 days earlier, that day would be a Tuesday. July 7 would be a Tuesday. So on Sunday morning, Unduka Bagbenatu was already on the run, was also in London. So we went to Unduka's house. off Park Lane. And myself and Tokunbo Afikuyomi, who later became a senator, so we were walking to Mabulaj to go and take taxi home because we had been with him all night. So when we got to Mabulaj, there was a news agent. So we went and bought the Sunday Times of London for that day. When we bought it, we now saw a story on Abiola in which Kofi Annan had visited Abiola and Abiola refusing blatantly never to compromise his mandate.
So they wanted him to...
Yes, to recant, apologize, even apologize for winning an election. And yeah. So, and signing an agreement with them that he will not pursue his ticket again, his mandate. So, and the man who wrote the reporter, the Sunday Times reporter, had followed Kofi Annan to Abuja, where they saw Abiola. He said the condition under which they met Abiola was very excruciating because they wouldn't allow him to watch, to listen to radio. He had television in front of him. It was, I think, during the World Cup. No voice, no audio, no.
Wow.
Just visuals. He said he believed that they were trying to break him down.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yes. And he said what they were doing to the man was wrong. And very sad that a man won an election and instead he became a prisoner. So we started, so I started screaming. I said, Wahala. So I called Wura. She said she was on her way to Cambridge and that she would come back later. Wura started crying. We have failed Daddy. Doesn't mean we cannot rescue Daddy. Say, what do we do? Mr. Momodu, I think maybe you have to reach out to your friends, the Ganifa means the Falanos. They should leave Daddy alone and let Daddy come home, because they are the ones saying he should not agree. He should not say that. I said, no, don't worry, I'll reach out to them. Then she advised that we should write a press release later in the day and send to all the newspapers that Abiola will accept any condition. They should just let him come home so that he doesn't die in prison, So I called a friend of mine in Nigeria. She was working with LTV8 at the time. I called her. I said, Funke, I'm having a premonition that Daddy is going to die. Yes, I predicted it 2 days before. I felt it. When you are close to someone, you can feel things. She said, Odeni, who wants to kill your daddy? You are just being emotional. 2 days later, he died. So that morning that Yinka Ebudi saw that thing, you won't believe it. By about 4:03, thereabout, Chief died. And it was so dramatic because we actually wrote that press release, me and Wura. So in those days, we were using fax machine. We didn't have WhatsApp. So the last version she sent to me came out at 4:03 p.m.
Goodness.
on the fax. That moment that the thing was going through my fax machine, Chief Soul was on the way to Aljana. As soon as that fax came out, Wura called me. I thought maybe she wanted to make a correction. And I was hearing a lot of noise. Yeah, want to padadi. Me, I was hearing something else like, want to release Daddy. Because that's what I wanted to hear. I said, what are you talking now? I said, I didn't want Daddy. Daddy is dead. Can you call your contacts at Sky News and all of them and check? So my wife was sitting in front of me like this, looking at the drama, the madness, the bedlam, Then I put on Sky News and I just saw breaking news. Nigeria's Momodu Abiola is dead. My world froze.
No.
My world froze. So I quickly told my wife, I have to go to Chief Abiola's house in Chester Terrace. They were living in Chester Terrace, just by the Regent's Park. So I went there. Kola was the only one in Nigeria. His other siblings were there. Ayodeji, Agbola, Bolaji, my wife's namesake, and Wura, the four of them were there. And they were now frantically looking for how to get flights back to Nigeria. Muslim, they have to bury him as soon as possible and all that. And I couldn't make that because as a refugee now, you have to plan well. And that was the end.
Wow. Yeah. So more contemporary issues.
No, but one last one on 993, because this whole thing wouldn't have happened because if somebody had done what they were supposed to do. Recently, Babangida wrote a book and openly agreed that he regretted annulling the 1993 elections.
And
right? He admitted that Abiola actually won the election. And then the likes of Femi Falana had come out to say that they are going to assemble a team of lawyers and that they have to sue. Babangida, do you share the same sentiment? Do you think that Babangida just coming out to say I'm sorry is enough? Or you share sentiment like some other Nigerians who think for somebody that did something of that magnitude, he should have left that place in handcuffs?
Well, let me tell you that I'm not a normal human being. I'm a big fan and a disciple of Abiola. And if you are someone's disciple, you learn from them. I learned a lot from Chief Abiola. Chief Abiola was not a vindictive person. Even there was a story published at that time by Tempo, because I was involved, that he wanted to reignite his relationship with Babangida. He loved Babangida passionately and almost unconditionally. In fact, I couldn't believe that the annulment ever took place. So, one, I believe the error Baba, I call him Baba, that's IBB made, was not to apologize. He didn't apologize. He only said, I accept responsibility. There's a difference between accepting responsibility and apologizing. If he had come out, if I was one of his speech writers, I would have ensured that the apology was full, was total, was unequivocal, and unconditional. He didn't do that. I think he missed that opportunity again. I've been advising him and the family for long that until you give a full apology, this thing will not go away. His daughter is my very good friend, Aisha. Babangida did a lot of good things. Unfortunately, that June 12 killed it. So, as to people have asked me this question, one or two television stations asked me immediately after the book launch if I can never forgive him. I said, I forgave him long ago. I'm not God. My religion teaches me to forgive my enemies, my seducers, my traducers 7 times. That's what the Bible told me. And I practice it religiously. I can fight you now and almost immediately I'm also your friend again. People have hurt me, they've injured me, they've disparaged me, they've hurt my feelings, and yet you will see me with them tomorrow. Even the Abachas, I leave people to God because vengeance does not belong to me. Maybe I'm being overtly religious, but so for my peace of mind, if I don't let a lot of things go, I will carry the burden forever. And I don't want to carry anybody's burden. Leave everybody to their God.
Interesting. Still about contemporary issues and forgiveness. Let's go to Rivers State. Because it would appear like somebody does not want to forgive or forget. You have the minister of the FCT and you have the governor of the state at loggerheads. Two people who were bodies before the elections, and then things just took a nasty turn. So first, I would like for you to address the issue of politicians and their interests and how you have followers dying and the very next day these politicians can make up and become the very best of friends and say it was just our differences that resulted in us falling apart. That's number one. Then number two, how do we resolve this issue? Because even the good people of Rivers State are now at the receiving end. The Supreme Court recently, ruled that the local government funds, the federal government should withhold local government funds until things are properly done. And we saw a video of the minister and his supporters thanking God, praising God, rendering songs of praise and worship. And you are seeing people who are saying the people of the state are the receiving end of whatever is happening. But because of the interest of two political gladiators, we're having this issue.
Okay, let me start by telling you that I'm sure maybe you're not aware that I was quite, in fact, I would say very close to Wike.
You are no longer close?
No. Me, I'm very frank. I knew him briefly through his former boss, Chibuike Rotimi Amechi, when he was governor. Amechi had been my friend since he was Speaker of the Rivers House of Assembly, the same chaotic House of Assembly now. And after that, he became governor, and we became very close. I was writing good things because he had a lot of laudable projects. Then Wike came, he started fighting
Rotimi
Amechi. I didn't really get involved, except that there was one article he said I wrote, I can't even remember, but Wike told me one day, I went for the Guild of Editors Summit in Port Harcourt. I went with Nduka Baigbena, Kabiru Yusuf of Daily Trust, and our late godfather, Ismaila Funtua, and Nduka Baigbena. So 4 of us, we went. He hosted us, and the way he spoke, the way he treated us, we were happy. He appeared very normal, you know. He even said that when he read what I wrote about him that day, his body was shaking because, you know, I write with so much passion, but not with venom. There's a difference. I always try to, So, and then I didn't hear from him again until, that was where I also met Prince Secondus. Hopefully, we will talk about Secondus somewhere along the line. So, we left, I went back. You know, I live between London, Ghana, and Nigeria. I keep 3 homes. One in London, one in Ghana, and one in Lagos. So, I interviewed Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. It's one of my toughest and most volatile interviews ever. You know, Kanu is a very, very brilliant guy. Extremely intelligent. You can't bully him, you can't put him down. So I did it on Instagram. It was a live Instagram live. In fact, it was so hot and everybody was watching, including Wike, apparently. I was doing it from my house in Ghana. And Kanu was so excited that the following day he tweeted that he was honored to have been interviewed by the Larry King of Africa, Dele Momodu. That's what he wrote, you know. But during my interview, he attacked Wike. I don't know what led to that. But I think Wike was saying he's not an Igbo man. And he was saying, how can somebody who bears Nyesom Wike say he's not an Igbo man and all that? So, but Wike insisted, and he still insists today that he's not an Igbo man. That is, I think he's an Ikwere man from Rivers. Anyway, during the interview, Nnamdi Kanu said, anybody who can help me find Wike's head, he will pay the person 50 million. Yes, live. I'm telling you. So then, after the interview, Wike reached out to me that he heard what Nnamdi Kanu said about him, that whosoever can find him Nnamdi Kanu's head, he will pay the person 100 million.
Aura for aura.
Double the price.
You know? So, Wike now insisted that I must do his own interview. I said, okay, no problem. So we fixed the following day. But when the following day came, I think he said he was busy, but that we should fix. I think I did Kanu on Wednesday. I was to do his own on Thursday. And I said, if I can do his own now on Friday. So by which time I was now in Nigeria. So I did his own from my house in Nigeria. It was hot. You know Wike now. He blasted and blasted anybody, anything on his path. He blasted, you know. So, but I could see that he was enjoying it. You know, when Wike likes something, he's ready to do anything to keep it. But his biggest problem is anger management. He can't manage his anger. He cannot take no. Everything must be according to his wish and his will. So he now begged me that I should come to Port Harcourt the following day, that I should come and see his developmental projects. And me, I love when a leader is doing projects for his people, because that's what we fought for. That's the whole essence of democracy. It doesn't matter which party you belong. And interestingly, I was going to join PDP anyway, because I had plans to run for election in 2023, presidential election. I had done one in 2011 on the platform of National Conscience Party. I started from Labour, but Labour threw me under the bus when they said they were not interested in presidency. So I had to leave to go to Ganifa Emi's NCP. So anyway, on Saturday morning, I and my team, we flew to Port Harcourt. Wike was really ready for me. He sent his own personal backup vehicle as governor, official, to meet me, bulletproof, with a detachment of security at the airport waiting for me. And I went, and he enjoyed. He was personally taking me around projects to see. We became the best of friends. We shared food. We shared alcohol. If I taught me how to drink things I never drank in my life, I never tasted gin and tonic in my life, he taught me. He's a man, when he comes, he's a connoisseur of the choicest whiskeys, cognacs, champagne.
That's an alcoholic DJ. He mixed.
You know?
He mixed.
And we became friends. I love his work ethic. Very, very hardworking man. Me, I say the good things I know about people, and I say the little bad I don't know. If he had managed that relationship well, he was already looking different, dressing better, talking better. You know, when you move with people, especially people like myself who are into branding and rebranding, there is no way it will not rub off on you. So we liked each other, and he took good care of me. But I'm one person. If you like, give me $1 billion. If you don't respect me, or when you stop respecting me, I will never agree. I'll walk away. Yes, people think I'm stupid, that how can you know all these big people and you still be complaining that you are broke? Doesn't matter. I manage what I have, because I believe it's not how much you have, it's how you manage what you have. You can have $1 billion and still be a useless person. Yes, I will walk into the gathering of billionaires and I will still shine. It's the glory of God. It's not about how much I have. So at any rate, that was how our relationship started. Then it started having problems in Oyigbo, which some people call Obi-Igbo, local government. There was mayhem, there was arson, they burnt down houses, burnt down security posts, and he had to declare a curfew. So after some time, when the thing was calming down a bit, people were still saying on social media that it's not true, that he had killed too many people, and he's still killing. He used me to go there. With all the security and everything. I went there and I was reporting live from the streets of Oyigbo and showing people how peace was returning to Oyigbo. Now, let me fast forward. Trouble started the moment I declared interest in presidential election. He had not told anybody he wanted to contest, but I was suspecting, because of the branding and how much he was spending on journalists. He had retainerships with NTA, with the Channels TV, with AIT, and later with Ovation. And those things are not cheap. But he was getting good results. Everybody was talking about Mr. Project, Mr. Project, Mr. Project, So I now tried to meet him to tell him that I'll be contesting and I will need the support. And before then, I'd also traveled around Nigeria. I'd met emirs, met sultan, met everybody. And the general impression I was getting was that if Wike wants to run, he will have problems, especially in the north. The northerners would support anybody but not Wike. So I tried to tell him that this is what I had picked up, so you can then know how to handle it. And that in case you are not able to run, will you kindly support me? What's the crime in that? I already considered you my friend and everything. And he told people, he stopped picking my call. He told people which Dele, even live on television, on channels. They said, so what about new entrants like Dele, Momodu? They say, no, get serious, yes. Which Dele, Momodu? I said, me? Wike is now saying me, who is there? Wike that told me that he used to watch myself and his boss, Amechi, when we are flying helicopters on top, that he would be down, they would look at us and say, hey, see these people, they are enjoying, that kind of thing. So suddenly, because you've now made money, power, and whatever, you think you can insult me. And in Yoruba culture, there is a saying that if you cannot go forward, you can at least go back to where you are coming from. So that was how things broke down before us. I wrote him letter, I did everything, he ignored it completely. Our mutual friends tried. In fact, I wrote a letter which I copied Professor Michael Zekume, SAN. I copied him that letter. I also copied our mutual friend, former Minister of Justice and Attorney General, Mohammed Bello Aduke. And they both said, oh, it was good. There is only a friend who can advise a friend. And I told him, and I copiously, I broke it down. What will happen if he decides to run? That he will meet with stiff resistance. And that's what happened. The day of our primary, he was so sure nobody can beat him. And wallahi, nobody could have beaten him if not for the master stroke that the North played against him when Governor Tambuwa suddenly pulled out, sacrificed his own. And that is the thing about politics. It's give and take. He never recovered from it. He became inconsolable, to quote a former president. I don't want to mention the name. He felt that, Wike said nobody can console him. He's inconsolable. Because he was so sure, he spent so much money. And he looked at, but he was just too tempestuous, which was what I was working on to make sure that if you want to be president of a nation, you must learn how to calm down. You must learn how to look cosmopolitan. You must learn how to, carry everybody along. But I guess he wanted to use the style Tinubu used eventually, because Tinubu had to bully his way through, just like Donald Trump bullied his way through in America. It works for some people. But Wike's own, he did not know how to balance it. And I'd warned him about it. So, on his problem with Fubara, God is my witness, I don't know Fubara well. And I have never spoken to Fubara one-on-one till today. I was dealing with his boss then. I used to see him around, he would bring files and but we have never, till today, people thought Fubara is the one funding me to attack Wike. No, I've never, no. I'm saying it publicly now. Anybody who knows Fubara should go and ask him. The only Fubara I know was a man I met at the airport one day. I was sitting in the lounge in Port Harcourt. I went for a funeral. And the man walked up to me and said, oh, I'm the governor's brother. And I said, oh, how are you? How is he doing? He said he's doing fine. That's the only Fubara I know. I respect myself. I defend the underdog. I will defend Fubara anywhere, anytime. Not for a penny. Not for a kobo. So, I believe Wike should have taken his own advice You remember a viral video where he was saying anybody who does not respect a governor, who does not do something, then in fact, when Dave Umahi, the then governor of Ebonyi State, decamped to APC, Wike blasted him so much. He said, how can you leave headache or malaria to cancer? That in fact, he paid to abuse him on television. I handled that press. Yes, I'm saying it publicly. He paid television houses to come and interview him so that he will blast Dave. I don't know in the same party today whether he joins or not. And when people say, he's destroying PDP. Oh, yes. But a lot of... I'm sure there are stories of insects who would think they are killing a tree or something and they end up killing themselves. Yes. Folk tales are replete with stories. I studied Yoruba. It's a matter of time. I have no doubt they will use him and dump him. He believes that nobody on... He said, I'm not afraid of anybody on earth. And the day he said that, I said, even God does not talk like this. So don't worry. You know, and he's a man. God has overblessed him. Beautiful family, beautiful wife, brilliant wife, good-looking children. I don't know much about them, but I see them around. They are calm and everything. But every day they see you on television, you are fighting one imaginary enemy or the other. Why? I've tried to advise him publicly. I've written public letters, open letters to him. He doesn't listen to anybody. But I know one day he will remember everything I told him. But it just might be too late. He doesn't know the people he's dealing with. I've been with them. Before, during, and after June 12th, I've been with them. I know that if I'm not there today, you should know that it's because I want my freedom, not because I hate Tinubu or Tinubu hates me. If Tinubu and I see tomorrow, we will still hug. The man, Tinubu is a smart man. He knows the people who are not doing things because of money. He knows Dele is not opposed to him because of money. It's because I'm defending my own party. I'm in PDP. I'm not one of those people somebody wrote yesterday. Now that, who joined them now? Okay, the person didn't join them. They said Jandor. So Jide gave a press conference 2 days ago that he has dumped PDP. But he hasn't said where he's going. And they say, Dele too will soon do it. So I'm a part-time politician. So I don't care what anybody says. I'm not interested. If I wanted to be with Tinubu, but Atiku gave me an assignment. And there are reasons I'm fascinated by Atiku. People don't know. He's old, he's this. It doesn't matter. It's not about your age. I've read stories. I've read stories about Joe Biden. I've read about Donald Trump. They are very old people. I've read about Abraham Lincoln, how many times he tried. And I've witnessed Buhari. It has nothing to do with age. It's your ability to win election. Everybody is attacking Atiku because he's the only one today who is not afraid of Tinubu. Every other person, quote me, they can't face him.
Including Mr. Peter Obi.
I said everybody.
Everybody.
Except him cannot face Tinubu head on. No.
Okay, so you mentioned Joe Biden, Donald Trump. You have said it's not a function of age.
Yeah.
And you said you also witnessed Buhari. But Twice. Yes. But if we look at politics in the United States of America and Nigeria, there's a contrast. And if in the way we play our politics, if indeed we want to find solutions to the problems, we need somebody who is hands-on and who can, take on these challenges and resolve them. Do you think that of all the, let me lump everyone together, of all the candidates in 2023, including yourself as an aspirant, do you think that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, this is leaving your party now? I know you are a member of the PDP, but leaving your party now, do you think that, there were no better alternatives compared to what we have today or the major candidates we had at the time? For example, somebody like Omoyele Sowore.
You see, life is not about comparing the incomparables. Life is about experience, about exposure. And when I talk about experience, until you've tried someone, you will never know their capability. But you can look at their past record. Of all of them, the only person who had been a vice president and the most successful vice president of them all is Atiku. Don't forget that Atiku is so accommodating, so cosmopolitan, so visionary that in 2019, Peter Obi was his running mate. Why are people suddenly forgetting that the man had used Peter Obi? Everybody is saying we want Igbo president, we want Igbo president. If Atiku had been president and Peter Obi became vice president, it would be just one leg to being president. He had used Senator Ben Obi at a time. He had used, I remember his name, the former Senate president who died.
Chuba
Okadibo.
Those are men of timber and caliber. You understand? But of all of them, trust me, he managed the economy during the Obasanjo, and that's still the best. That was when they wrote off our debt and everything. You can say whatever, nobody is perfect, no leader in this world is perfect, but Atiku has been a performer. Then the first platform for me is you must be a Democrat. How democratic has he been? I'll start from 1993. He contested against MK Abiola. We're all talking June 20. We always forget to acknowledge Atiku's contribution. But for Atiku stepping down, maybe Abiola would not have even gotten that ticket.
Just convention.
In Jos, I was there. I was live. I was a young man. I was 33 years old or less. And they had to get his mentor, Major General Shehu Musa Yaradua, to get him to step down for Abiola. And he went away. No quarrel, unlike what Wike is doing now, throwing tantrums and giving all kinds of reasons why he cannot agree. You can't be angry forever. No matter who you are. You must have that spirit that, okay, on this occasion, I didn't get it. I told you, I ran away from Nigeria crying, but I came back with ovation.
Standing one at that.
Literally.
You don't know why God does certain things in your life. If you get angry, you throw a stone at a goat in the marketplace, you go and hit your relative. So, for me, Atiku, he did that one. That was my first time of noticing him as a politician. Then he went away, the crisis came, everything came. His mentor died, he survived. All he wanted was to be the governor of Adamawa and all that, the old Gongola. He had even become the governor. Then suddenly they called him to come and be vice president of Obasanjo. And I looked at his cabinet. He had a star-studded cabinet, the youngest guys. He picked you not because you are a northerner, not because I can give you names. Me, I deal with facts. We had Onuka Badinoyojo, who was from Kogi State. He was my friend. He was one of the best writers ever at the Guardian newspaper. He was the man who invited me to Lagos to become a journalist. He died, unfortunately, a few years back. We had Chris Mama, who was an editor at the Punch newspaper. He's not from the north. He had Professor Adeolu Akonde, an Oyo State man.
So that ability to gather people from different parts.
He gathered the best of the best. In fact, he got to a stage when he started fighting with his boss that they started sacking all those people. They were just damn too good.
But looking at Nigeria today, do you think that quality alone is enough?
Wait, now, Shebi, you asked me.
All right, sir.
And I'm explaining it.
Thank you, sir.
You see, let me tell you, that's how you know a leader. He was an administrator. He produced El-Rufai. El-Rufai became one of the best guys to sort out Abuja FCT. That was one of his guys. They were all around him. And as the manager of the economy, you could see the caliber of people he worked with. Another thing that fascinates me about a Democrat, I hate thuggery. Politicians in Nigeria believe so much in violence. I hate violence vehemently. You will never find a thug in front of Atiku's house or office. I was the director of strategic communications for Atiku this last election. And I worked day and night from his office in APCO, the Atiku Presidential Campaign Office. It's called APCO in Abuja. You would think you are in Cambridge or Harvard. The quality, you will not believe that is a presidential campaign. Till today, he's still maintaining it. He left office in 2007. I don't know of anybody today who has Atiku's quality of life. The number of businesses, the number of employees, is one of the biggest employers of labor in Nigeria. They hate him, they did everything about him, but he's still surviving. He flies his private jet. When he's tired, he goes to his Dubai. People abuse him, he goes to Dubai. What do they want him to be a nuisance and be disturbing governor of Adamawa and begging for money. Politicians live like parasites. You can't call Atiku a parasite. It doesn't control a single state in Nigeria. These are facts. You can fact check it. I'll continue to say it's not perfect. I'm not perfect. You are not perfect. But I wish we have politicians who have their means of income. He is a consummate businessman. He invested heavily in education. Education is my passion. The American university, from primary to secondary to university, and he invested heavily in agriculture, food production. You find him there. Intel was one of the best things to happen to Nigeria. They made sure they pulled him out and put their friends there now. He moved on. They said he must divest and sell off his shares. That is one politician that you could point to and say, this is how he earns a living. If we don't appreciate that, then we will never appreciate anybody. When I was working for him, people were going to him to say, I'm Tinubu's boy. And everybody knows that, yeah, it's true, I'm Tinubu's guy. I've never denied it. If someone told Tinubu, if I was working for Tinubu and someone say I'm Atiku's guy, they will fire me. Of course. Atiku never blinked an eye. He said if Dele decides to betray me, it will just be one of them. It won't be new. That it won't be the first time I've been betrayed. Once he gave me that job and I accepted it, no Jupiter was going to stop it. People were calling my wife, abusing me. You're an ingrate. Tinubu helped you before. I said, yes, I know. Me too, I've done a lot of things for Tinubu before, so it's good. I'm not fighting him. I respect him. I would say I love his person. He's a very kind-hearted, generous person. But politics, I cannot stand anything that suggests that your word is law and nobody else can challenge it. Even Baba Ulawa, people argued with him.
Good. It's okay that you have your principles and you
look at this
them.
issue of this Lagos State House of Assembly. See how it turned out.
They say it is the sophistication of Lagos politics.
It is good. I like the semantics. You know, in semantics, you can somersault and...
We're taking it home. But still talking about the legislative arm of government, let's talk about Senators Akpabio, Senate President Akpabio and Senator Natasha. You know, recently, she publicly claimed, you know, that the Senate President sexually harassed her. And she says that she has evidence to back this. There are certain people who have responded to this whole situation. For example, we have seen Senator Ireti Kingibe, we have seen Senator Itagiwa, and some people have said that, you know, if you look at Nigeria today and the condition that women have to deal with in our politics, this is a very, very important point in our history, and something must be done to give women that power and that sense of confidence in Nigeria's political setup. I would like your thoughts on this. When you first heard this, what was your initial reaction before you now look at, the situation and how some people have responded to the issue?
I watched it live on Arise News. I was shocked. I was stunned. I was flabbergasted. And my initial reaction was, oh, wow, where are we going this route again? The Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, is a man that I admire in some ways. And my admiration, I told you, I love projects, stemmed from when he was governor of Akwa Ibom. And I saw the number of good projects that he did. And he's a very friendly man. I remember I went for the wedding of one of his guys, the former president of what do you call them? University something.
SUG or alumni?
No. The university, the national one, NANS.
Okay.
NANS. So, Imeni Bong, that's the name of the guy. So his wedding, I was the chairman of the day. And Akpabio, Governor Akpabio, was the father of the day. So we both met there. I like to say the good things I know about people. And he invited me over in the evening to dinner in the State House. And I went there and everything. And I saw a very, very jovial, very lively, very friendly human being. And everywhere we met, we have mutual friends at home and abroad. There are presidents in Africa who are our mutual friends, and we always talk about him. Like someone said, I can't remember who said it now, that he jokes a lot. I read that one of the interviews recently. The person was saying, it's Senator Olujimi, Abiodun Olujimi, a woman too who was in the Senate, who said it that sometimes he carries his joke too far. So, and the lady was trying to suggest that maybe even when he told the woman, when will you comment, that maybe he was joking. And I think it's a poor joke if it was a joke. There are things that could become very sensitive. So, but when I listened to Senator Agboche, the place I disagreed with her, everything else was okay, was when she said, I didn't know whether to tell my husband or not. I believe she should have told her husband immediately that this man, your friend, can you warn him? And I'm sure the husband would probably have said, don't mind him, he's joking. And then so at least you would have killed it at that stage. And if they ever go to court, which I hear they are in court, so I don't want to go, so I don't want us to go and run foul of the law. So, but I believe you should have. So the court will decide who they believe, especially if she says she has evidence. Yeah. But one thing I will never agree is the way people are trying to bully her into submission. I would never agree to that. Let her go to court. If she fails, she fails. If she wins, she wins. But if the elders can also intervene and bring them into a room, including her husband, the wife, Akpabio's wife, Akpabio himself, we have a lot of mutual friends they respect. And even the presidency, at least they intervened. I would like to speak about Fubara again, the intervention of Tinubu on Fubara. If they can intervene, let them bring them into a room and let them all iron out their differences, apologize to each other and one another and move on from there. Look, kids are watching. Kids are watching. It's unfortunate that every time we talk, we're talking about serious. The Senate is the highest, platform in a country. Apart from the presidency, the executive, you go to the National Assembly. And kids are watching them and now they are hearing that somebody wants to sleep with me. Somebody wants to... I think we should rise above that. And so let them settle it if they can. If they can't settle it, well, they can wash their dirty linen in public. That would be very unfortunate. But for me, nothing is too much for peace.
Interesting.
There was something I said I wanted to talk about Fubara. I shouldn't forget that. Fubara and the intervention of Tinubu. I believe Tinubu needs to do something about Fubara. He was the one who called both parties and gave them agreements to sign. Fubara complied. He complied. Wike refused to comply till tomorrow. It's unfair that Wike will get away with everything and Fubara is now being threatened with impeachment. It is unfair. And Tinubu is watching. Why is Tinubu afraid of Wike? What's there to be afraid of? He helped you. Abacha, he gave you some votes. Abacha maybe raised some funds for the party, and so it won't be the first and it won't be the last. Any man who disrespects his own president and his own boss is not worth being protected. Tinubu should be bold enough to tell Wike nothing should happen to Fubara because he called both of them. He said he should allow those legislators who voluntarily decamped to another party. And the law is clear on it. Once you decamp to another party, you automatically lose your seat. And the president called them, and as Omoluabi, Fubara went. Well, Fubara is not in their party, but he respected the office of the president like we all should do. It's no longer about Tinubu, whether we like him, we don't like him. He's the father of the nation. So I expected Tinubu to call Wike to order. Mr. Wike, but I called both of you. How come one person complied and you are still troubling the man? If you truly love and respect me, leave him alone. You will see that the Wike will stop all this thing that he's doing. He's heating up the polity, and I can predict it. I'm watching it on television, that if they go ahead and impeach that person, we may return to those days when violence erupted. Do you know what President Yar'Adua went through to grant amnesty and do all those things? And now we want to go back to those days because of one man. You have been governor for 8 years. Governor for 8 years. You have been minister. You became governor for 8 years. You are now minister, one of the most important ministries in the land. The day you play God, God will show you now that you are not God.
Very true. We are taking it home now. But one more question. I would like for you to stare into your crystal ball. You have made some very important calls in the course of, your life and Nigeria's history. This is 2025. In 2 years, Nigeria will go to the polls. Presidential and governorship elections. I would like for you to stare into your crystal ball and, maybe make a bold prediction. I am very certain that the president is doing everything in his power to convince Nigerians that he would fulfill his promise and also be given another opportunity to run for a second term. And your party too, the major opposition political party in Nigeria, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, that you have, spoken so highly of, is, I don't know. So I would just like, and Peter Obi is also your friend, and Showore is your wonderful Aburu.
My very dear, I love him.
I would like for you to make a bold prediction.
I love the word you use for Tinubu, that Tinubu, you are sure he's trying to convince. I wish he's trying to convince Nigerians. That's the best thing for him to do. But if he's thinking of coercing,
but you wish. Do you mean from what you see?
From what I see, I'm seeing use of force. I'm seeing use of force. I'm frank. I'm seeing use of force. They are destroying, APC is destroying other parties. I hear Ganduje every day. Ganduje is a very educated man. Say what you will about him. He's a very educated man. I feel sad anytime I watch him say, the next place you want to take over. Take over how? Just say the next place we are going to campaign. The next place we are going to show what we have done for them. That's okay.
But can't we say that's maybe just political lingo?
No, we see it physically. We see physical violence everywhere. They took over Edo State. It is possible they could still have won without going through all that hanky-panky. That's not democracy. You take over. My Egbon, Adams Oshiomhole will say, when you are in the other party, you are a sinner, but immediately you come to APC, you become a saint. You become, I mean, look, some people died for this democracy now. Don't let's put it at risk. We always think the things that happen in other places can never happen in Nigeria. We shouldn't put it at risk. It pains me. I never pray again in my life for violence in Nigeria. Because it's the children of the poor people who will die. The rich will never. All their children, they have private jets waiting. They have helicopters waiting. They will take off. And the children of the poor will be put at risk again. It's not normal. So, my crystal ball.
Mm-hmm.
I think most of the major opposition parties are likely to collapse even if they don't die. They will be in coma, including Labour, PDP, NNPP, all of them. They will go into coma.
By the next election cycle?
Before the very, very soon.
So PDP, Labour,
All
NNPP.
of them, they are already
in ICU.
They are in ICU. Thank you. They are in ICU. So the reason I told Alhaji Atiku the other day I went to see him that the only reason I haven't left PDP is that I don't want to send a wrong signal. People say, oh, I don't mind him. He wants to go and join APC. Not me. Me, I'm very stubborn. I'm a Toryhan. Everybody can face one direction. I'll face the other opposite direction. I'm enjoying it. I love it. The way I'm tormenting some of my enemies who think, oh, he's one of them. What makes him superior to them? I am superior by principle. That's all.
Period.
Superior by principle.
By principle.
Interesting.
Yes. And I'm paying dearly for it. I'm not a rich man, but God. I told you when I ran into exile, if I could survive and God gave me ovation, so who told me that God will not give me a bigger ovation tomorrow?
Interesting. So as we go home, former governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasiru El-Rufai, has been in the news, and it would appear like he has been calling for the galvanization of opposition political parties to rescue our democracy and give the APC, in quotes, a fight.
A strong opposition.
Yeah, a strong opposition, and credible one at that. What do you make of these moves? What do you make of these moves?
Sorry, I'm tired. I won't lie to you.
Sorry, sir.
I don't think I've done an interview like this in many years. Anyway, Nasiru El-Rufai happens to be someone whose brain I respect a lot. I think he miscalculated by over-trusting the guys in APC. He doesn't know them. APC, as he thought, will move from being a Lagos affair, the local APC, to a national platform. He was wrong. Tinubu has never played at the national level. He has never contested any election. This is the first time he will contest at the national level and he won. So that exposure, he may have experience of governing Lagos, which is like a country on its own, but he doesn't have that exposure to higher calling at the national level. Having money and helping people to become governor here and there, that's not governance. That's why I told you that Atiku is the only one who has done it at that national level. You see, Nasiru, I respect so much that when I contested in 2011, I approached him. I wanted him to be my vice president.
Wow.
That's how much I love brains. His brain is so fertile. He reads. You hardly see Nasiru on a flight, on a bus or anywhere without holding a book. I'm a bookworm too. So I always respect people like that. So, but I don't know how he fell for their, what's the word now? It's almost like he was jazzed. He carried that thing on his head, he and Mrs. Buhari. Today, I'm sure both of them must be regretting it. I pitied them. That I said, I was always shaking. Anytime I saw them on television, I was always shaking my head. And I know something for a fact. And please, this is something my viewers should hold tight. The first person a king beheads is the kingmaker.
At
Why
this
so
juncture, that he does not make another king.
Yep.
No, and also so that you don't remind me of the
What I
fame
think
when he
about
was
what
a
he owes
nobody.
him.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. So final question. You mentioned earlier on that there are two people that you'd be willing to do anything for. One of them being MKO. Just wondering, who is the other person?
You see, the other person does not like being written about, does not like being spoken about. I refer to him as the spirit of Africa. And I coined that because he's the most reclusive businessman, one of the wealthiest people, not just in Nigeria, but in the world. Solid. He's an organic businessman. He's not an audio businessman. Very organic. And the reason I'll do anything for him was that I've known him since 1991. And after the departure of Chief MK Abiola, I've not seen anyone who has surpassed this generosity. And this man does not want to be seen. In fact, one day he told me, I don't even want anybody to remember that I exist. I just want to live in my own world.
Wow.
This is a man I know who has turned people into billionaires, and you will not hear about it. And he will even tell you, mom is the word. Don't tell anybody. This is a man who will give cars out. Sometimes in a year, 50 brand new cars or more. And I'm not talking about wretched cars. I know a famous actor who told me that he gave him a Range Rover. And in the same house, he gave his wife a RAV4 together. This is a man who gives out the same cars that he drives himself. He will buy like 10 of it and give it to his friends.
Wow.
And one day I asked him, I said, why do you do these things? And his reply to me was, if you say your friend is a billionaire and it does not reflect on you, then he's not your friend. It's rare to find such a human being. I don't know any other person who does that. So I know Madame is dying to know who the person is.
Yes.
In the spirit of giving people their flowers.
Yeah.
If not anything.
Everybody knows when you say the spirit of Africa. I won't say more than
All
that.
right, so we appreciate the spirit of Africa.
Africa. Exactly.
And may that spirit continue to bless
Amen.
Africa.
Yeah.
God bless her.
I think I will weaken it if I mention his name. Once I say the spirit of Africa, everybody knows he's invested in our artists, comedians, musicians,
Industry.
footballers across Africa. And he's a man who makes money per second.
Exactly.
Okay.
A spirit of
Okay.
on a second thought.
Yeah. Okay.
Spirit of Africa.
Spirit
We
of
are
Africa.
we are Africans too.
Yes, man.
Let your spirit share.
In the spirit
Thank
of
you so much,
Africanism.
Dele Momodu. We are really very grateful. The last 3 hours have been eye-opening and very full of insight.
Thank you.
I'm certain that those who saw this episode up until this point have learned a lot.
I hope so.
We have repeatedly said that it is important for people to tell their stories. We have a very young population, and unfortunately, maybe because of some decision made by someone that has eroded history being taught in our schools, people don't get to learn about very important events in our nation's history. I'm sure some people would look at June 12th and say, na public holiday, now we'll just enjoy them. But you have given a detailed analysis of all that happened and what you and some other well-meaning Nigerians passed through. You have also spoken on some contemporary issues. We hope that people have learned, and importantly, you have spoken about what we must do so that we are not discouraged. Because some people will say, this person went through all of this, so I'm very certain that a lot of people have learned and you have inspired them. We're also going to say, well done to, your wife who has stood by you through thick and thin, and all that she had to endure. You are the true hero.
And my children.
And your children too.
They suffered more than us.
Wow.
Because they were kids.
They were kids,
And they didn't have the opportunity, to interact like normal kids would do.
Wow, interesting. So God bless you all. We appreciate you. Remember, we are going to the United Kingdom, Coventry, London, Manchester, Easter holiday. So you go enjoy yourself. No need, go stress yourself because now holiday and you go flex. There are very interesting activities lined up for your pleasure. Please buy your tickets. Eventbrite, I beg, I beg you. Ebo witi, ebo wara wara. Thank you so much, Chief Dele Momodu. God bless you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
A round of applause
Thank
for
you.
Thank you.
Bob D.
Thank you so much.